Eavesdropping on the young master's thoughts, 6 sisters regret it. Lin Xiao transmigrated into the body of a resentful true young master who had been impersonated for 20 years and bound to their super gossip system. After returning to the Lin family, he initially planned to lie low and enjoy life, but soon discovered that things were not that simple. Chapter 1, I am Lin Xiao. When Mrs. Lin, Xiao, arrived at a secluded alley in the city outskirts, accompanied by her assistant, based on the address she had found, she couldn't help but frown. Just 3 days ago, the Lin couple had learned that the son they had raised for 20 years was not their biological child. Years ago, a rival competitor bribed their nanny to deliberately take Mrs. Lin's baby and swapped it with an unknown child. The nanny had passed away from illness 3 years ago. Had it not been for a slip of the tongue by the competitor during a recent drinking session, they might never have known the truth. You mean, our Xiao lives in a place like this? Xiao, 48 years old but looking much younger due to her good upkeep, asked, her brow furrowed. She looked every bit as youthful as someone in her 30s, with a well-maintained figure. She wore a tasteful new Chinese-style cheongsam, elegant and beautiful. However, the surroundings made her uneasy. It wasn't hard to see why she felt that way. The area was dilapidated, far from the luxurious villa they lived in. The walls were worn, covered in random advertisements. A drain in the corner emitted a foul odor. Her assistant, Xiao Li, nodded. Yes, according to our investigation, young master Lin Xiao lives in the innermost courtyard. Let's go. Xiao, thinking about her son, ignored her discomfort and continued walking. As they reached the door, they saw a young man sitting in a wheelchair in the courtyard. The young man, seemingly unaware of their arrival, was watering flowers, his arm shaking slightly, which made it difficult for him to manage. Xiao's eyes reddened instantly. How is he? Is he disabled? Xiao Li was also confused and stammered, and no, it shouldn't be like this. The last time I was here, young master Lin Xiao wasn't like this. No matter what, he is my son. Xiao quickly adjusted her emotions and was about to approach. Just then, a voice suddenly echoed in her mind. Hey, judging by the time, my real mother should be arriving soon. That fake woman should also be coming to try to trap me. TSK, truly worthy of a wild child brought in from outside, thinking of using a pregnant woman to fool me. Luckily, I'd prepared well. Xiao froze in her tracks and looked around. There was no one else there except the 3 of them. This clearly wasn't either voice of her assistant, so it could only be our Xiao. Xiao tentatively called out. The young man in the wheelchair slowly turned his head upon hearing the voice. When he saw her, his face showed clear surprise. You are? Lin Xiao, looking somewhat pale, asked gently. Xiao, overwhelmed with emotion upon seeing her biological son, didn't pay much attention to the voice she had just heard. She hurried to his side, squatted down, and gently held his hand. Her eyes reddened again. Xiao, I'm your mother, your real mother. At that moment, their voice echoed again. Wow, Mom's hand is so warm, she's so gentle. She looks like a dignified lady, but I didn't expect her to be so kind. Then it's strange. How did such a gentle mother raise such a bad seed? Just a fake young master, and to ruin my name, she hired a pregnant woman to cause trouble, claiming that the child in her belly is mine. Indeed, human nature is evil. A bad seed is just a bad seed. Once again, I'm thankful for my intelligence. I was prepared. Xiao froze. This time, she clearly heard that the voice came from Lin Xiao, but she could also see that his mouth hadn't moved. Only a trace of mockery and smugness flashed in his eyes. Is it ventriloquism? But judging by the assistant's demeanor, it seemed he didn't hear any of this. Could it be that she was hearing Lin Xiao's thoughts? Xiao seemed to realize something. And what was all this talk about a pregnant woman? Was he referring to the bad seed at home, Lin Yu? Although Lin Yu wasn't their biological son, and his spoiled nature made him a bit mischievous, he was no worse than any other rich young master who enjoyed indulgence. How could he be involved in such malicious schemes? Moreover, he was plotting against the person whose identity he had replaced. Xiao felt that Lin Xiao was being overly suspicious and her face grew cold. She couldn't help but feel disappointed in the son standing before her. All right, Xiao Li, you help him pack up his things. Let us go back. Yes, madam. Xiao Li didn't know why Su Shumei's attitude changed so quickly, but he didn't dare ask and quickly walked toward the house. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching cry echoed from behind. Lin Xiao, how could you do this to me? I'm carrying your child. Upon hearing this, Xiao Li and Su Shumei were both startled. They both turned toward the door. A pregnant woman with a large belly rushed into the courtyard and immediately approached Xiao Li. Lin Xiao. You heartless man. Don't think you can abandon us just because you're going back to be the young master. Lin Xiao. If you dare abandon me, I'll ruin your reputation. Xiao Li's face visibly turned pale. He quickly backed away, seeking help from Su Shumei. Su Shumei was momentarily stunned. It was Lin Xiao who cleared his throat at the perfect moment. Hey, you're wrong. I'm the real Lin Xiao. Chapter 2, The Charming Real Father. The pregnant woman froze for a moment, turned to look at Lin Xiao, then glanced at Xiao Li. They hadn't mentioned that Lin Xiao was disabled, had they? But she had been paid, and the act had to be followed through properly. She quickly scrambled up and, once again, pounced toward Lin Xiao in the wheelchair. Lin Xiao. You heartless man. To her surprise, she repeated everything she had just said verbatim. Aside from the pregnant woman herself, everyone else in the room fell silent. Was she a robot? Couldn't she at least change up her lines? Lin Xiao, looking hurt, said, Xie Xue, how could you mistake me for someone else? You've really made me so sad. Xie Xue? Who was Xie Xue? There had been no mention of this part before. The pregnant woman was confused, but seeing that Lin Xiao had admitted it, she thought she had succeeded and continued with her sob story. It's all your fault. That night, you were drunk and after that, you kept rejecting me. I've even forgotten what you look like now. Such a clumsy excuse made both Xiao Li and Su Shumei raise their eyebrows. Xiao Li wanted to step forward and ask for clarification, but Su Shumei gave him a look, signaling him to stop. No matter what the truth was, Su Shumei wanted to see how Lin Xiao would handle the situation. Lin Xiao grabbed the pregnant woman's hand and said earnestly, Xie Xue, I didn't expect that even after I became disabled, you would still stand by me. I'm really so touched. We can go get our marriage certificate now, and you can take care of me for the rest of my life. I'll be content. The pregnant woman froze. She had only been looking for someone to take responsibility, and now, Lin Xiao was talking about spending a lifetime with her. Lin Xiao continued, oh right, about our child, I checked before. Some poor families have their children cooking by the age of 3. Our kid will cook, and you'll take care of the mess. We'll live happily as a family of 3. The pregnant woman's face turned pale. Her thoughts drifted back to the words of the previous man she had spoken to, and she was still unwilling to let go. She had been so close to becoming the wife of a wealthy family. She looked at the elegant woman beside her, contemplating whether she could try her luck with her future mother-in-law. But before she could speak, Lin Xiao cut in. Xie Xue, look at me now. I don't want to burden anyone anymore. Our family of 3 will live in this small courtyard. You can tear down these flowers and plant vegetables. We can be self-sufficient. With that, Lin Xiao winked at Su Shumei. Su Shumei, having guessed what was going on, said coldly, our Lin family has strict family rules. Since our Xiao tried to abandon you too, he is an ungrateful person, unworthy of returning to the Lin family. As for you. Su Shumei turned to look at the pregnant woman. An unmarried woman with a child out of wedlock. The Lin family would never accept someone like you. The pregnant woman was stunned. How could this be so different from what she had imagined? Was it true that rich families value descendants above all else? Even if they gave her a sum of money to keep the child, she would have been fine with that. Lin Xiao, seeing that Su Shumei was cooperating, added fuel to the fire. Xie Xue, let us go. We'll go get the marriage certificate now. He then spun his wheelchair around and, with one hand, grabbed the pregnant woman's wrist. The pregnant woman panicked, struggling to break free. Wait. I've made a mistake. You're not the father of my child. You're not? Xie Xue, how could you say that? Lin Xiao pretended to wipe a tear from his eye in mock sadness. The pregnant woman couldn't keep up the act any longer. She yanked her arm away from him and quickly walked toward the exit. As she walked, she muttered, if I had known you were such a cripple, I wouldn't have come. Damn, trying to make me serve you, what a joke. The pregnant woman, holding her belly, hurried off, disappearing into the distance. Lin Xiao let out a sigh of relief, stood up from the wheelchair, and stretched. His tall, straight posture was nothing like that of a disabled person. He wheeled the chair to the next courtyard. "Thanks, Uncle Zhang, I'll return the wheelchair now." Returning to Sushilme, he flashed a bright smile. "Mom, my things are packed. We can leave now." Sushilme, looking at Lin Xiao's eyes so similar to her own, smiled warmly. She was relieved to see how easily he handled the pregnant woman's scheme. Her biological son was a clever one. This was a good thing. However, she remembered the voice she had heard earlier, Lin Xiao's thoughts. She still didn't want to believe it. Even though Lin Yu wasn't her biological son, she had raised him since he was young. How could he possibly do such a thing? After thinking it over, Sushilme was sure there must be some misunderstanding. Lin Xiao's luggage was light, only a worn-out backpack. Sushilme felt a pang in her heart and immediately instructed Xiao Li to buy some clothes and daily necessities for Lin Xiao in the afternoon. When they reached the street corner, Lin Xiao saw two luxury cars parked nearby. A Porsche was in front, and a Bentley was behind it. "Our Xiao, your father has arrived." Sushilme smiled as she looked at the Bentley. "Your father is usually very busy, but when he knew I was coming to find you, he cancelled his work and came straight over." At that moment, the back door of the Bentley opened. Lin Xingshan, unable to wait for the driver to open the door, eagerly got out of the car himself. His eyes filled with excitement as he looked at Lin Xiao. "So, this is our real son. Look at his build, his looks. Not bad, not bad. He definitely inherited my genes." Lin Xingshan patted Lin Xiao's shoulder heavily. Lin Xiao, gazing at the middle-aged man in a well-tailored suit, who was already in his 50s with a few fine lines around his eyes, could still see the traces of his youthful handsomeness. "Hair, not bad for a real dad. He's quite the looker. No wonder women are constantly chasing after him. From 18-year-olds to 58-year-olds, they all want to climb into his bed." Hearing this voice, Sushilme's expression immediately darkened. Chapter 3, A True Son. Sushilme glanced at Lin Xingshan, seeing his expression shift from excitement to awkwardness. It seemed like he could hear Lin Xiao's thoughts too. And from the look on Lin Xingshan's face, it appeared that Lin Xiao had hit the nail on the head. Sushilme subtly perked up her ears, hoping to catch more information. Lin Xingshan was also startled by Lin Xiao's thoughts. With Sushilme present, he didn't dare to ask too many questions. "All right, Xiao Li, go buy a few outfits for our Xiao. We'll take Zhang Jie's car back," Sushilme quickly instructed, worried that splitting up from Lin Xiao and Lin Xingshan might affect her ability to hear his thoughts. "Understood, madam." Xiao Li nodded respectfully and drove off in the Porsche ahead. "What? We're taking this car? If anything happens on the road, we can't let them get hurt." Lin Xiao quickened his pace and immediately sat in the front passenger seat. Lin Xingshan and Sushilme didn't know what Lin Xiao's thoughts meant, but they didn't ask any further and simply sat in the back seat. The car started moving, and Lin Xiao's gaze occasionally drifted to the driver, Zhang Jie. "Zhang Jie, you don't look well. If you're not feeling good, we can slow down," Lin Xiao suddenly remarked out of the blue. Lin Xingshan, puzzled, asked, "Zhang Jie, are you feeling unwell?" "No, I'm fine." Zhang Jie denied it. "Hey, you're fine for now, but soon you won't be. Hey, having a crush on dad is one thing, but secretly slipping something in your body while driving, that's messed up. Dad, please don't move around. The remote is right under your seat." Upon hearing this voice, Lin Xingshan jerked, quickly shifting his body. At the same time, the car suddenly slammed on the brakes. "No, sorry, there was someone ahead," Zhang Jie quickly made an excuse. But the car was already driving down a wide, empty road. There was no one ahead. Looking at Zhang Jie's stammering voice and flushed face, both Lin Xingshan and Sushilme immediately understood. Lin Xingshan was too disgusted to move. He trembled with anger. "Pull over." "Huh? Mr. Lin. Pull over." If Lin Xingshan weren't worried about causing an accident, he would have thrown the remote straight at Zhang Jie's face. Zhang Jie didn't dare defy the command and hurriedly pulled the car over to the side. "Mr. Lin, you. Get out." Before Zhang Jie could finish speaking, Lin Xingshan got out of the car, opened the driver's door, and yanked Zhang Jie out. He then sat in the driver's seat, pressing the accelerator and driving off. Behind them, Zhang Jie's agonized screams echoed. "Mr. Lin, there's no way to get a cab from here, let me come back with you. Mr. Lin." On the road, Su Xiumei called Xiao Li to tell him to immediately fire Zhang Jie. At this point, Lin Qingshan realized that Su Xiumei could also hear Lin Xiao's thoughts. Awkwardly, he tugged at his mouth, glancing at Su Xiumei's dark face through the rearview mirror. He awkwardly explained, "I really didn't know." But Su Xiumei simply shot him a cold glance, remaining silent. Hey, didn't he expect Dad to be so whipped by Mom? But this situation isn't really Dad's fault. He's usually clueless about these things. The obvious things he can reject, but these hidden perversions really hard to guard against. Upon hearing this voice, Lin Qingshan nearly teared up from gratitude. What a true son! He had made up his mind this wonderful son would get everything he wanted from now on. Su Xiumei's expression finally softened a bit. She knew that, in wealthy families like theirs, many women sought to climb the social ladder. Her husband had always focused on his career, and compared to other men in noble families, he was indeed more steady. Xiao, if you're tired, you can sleep for a while. Okay. Lin Xiao leaned back in his seat and slowly closed his eyes. Mom is so gentle. Too bad her gentleness is short-lived. Once we get back, she'll probably hate me when she sees her precious son throwing a tantrum and wanting to run away from home. By then, no matter if it's Dad, Mom, or even the housekeeper, they all think poorly of me. If it were anyone else, I'd feel too embarrassed to stay in that house. But luckily, I've got thick skin, so there's no way I'll back down. Lin Yu wants to run away from home. Both Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei froze. They had already spoken to Lin Yu over the past couple of days and assured him that he would always be their son, that he could stay in the Lin family, and that his shares would remain intact. At the time, Lin Yu had seemed to understand and agreed, so they didn't think he would make a scene. About an hour later, the car pulled into a villa on the outskirts of town. Just as they parked, the housekeeper quickly walked up to greet them. "Master, madam, you're finally back." "Young master," he's packing his bags and insisting on leaving home. Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei's hearts sank at once. But since they had been mentally prepared, they didn't panic. Following the housekeeper into the living room, they saw Lin Yu walking down the stairs with his suitcase packed. "Mom, Dad, you're back." Lin Yu looked upset, forcing a smile. "I thought about it all night, and I still think it's better if I leave. After all, now that my younger brother is back, I need to give this home back to him." As he spoke, he looked towards Lin Xiao, who was standing at the back. According to his plan, with his parents so fond of him, they would certainly comfort him at this point. However, to his surprise, Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei exchanged a glance, their expressions turning serious. If it weren't for Lin Xiao's reminder, they would have immediately felt sorry for Lin Yu and tried to persuade him to stay. But after hearing Lin Xiao's thoughts, they couldn't help but feel that Lin Yu was being a bit unreasonable now. Chapter for the fake young master who pretends to be so. Lin Yu continued to walk downstairs with his suitcase. Seeing that Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei didn't say anything, the housekeeper suddenly became anxious. "Young master, you have always been the most beloved son of the master and the lady. They are reluctant to let you go," the housekeeper said, and wanted to step forward to stop him. But Lin Yu's attitude was extremely resolute. "The Lin family has raised me for 20 years. I am really satisfied. I can't expect too much." These words finally moved Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei. After all, he is a son raised for 20 years. Even if he is not his biological son, he has a deep affection for him. "Xiaoyu, didn't we agree before that we just took Xiao back, not to drive you away?" Su Xiumei said distressedly. Lin Qingshan also echoed, "Yes, Xiaoyu, you will always be our son." But Lin Yu still shook his head. "Everything I have originally belonged to him. If I continue to stay, the Lin family will not be able to accommodate me one day." Lin Yu, acting like a victim, directed the conflict to Lin Xiao. How could this be? Su Xiumei looked at Lin Yu's lost look and couldn't help but have an idea in her mind. For the past 20 years, their family has been living well. Although Lin Yu is a little naughty outside, he has always listened to them at home. If the original peace is broken because of Lin Xiao's return, Then is it the right choice for them to insist on finding Lin Xiao? Just as they were hesitating, Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei heard Lin Xiao's voice again. Pretend, keep pretending. With such poor acting skills, only dad and mom will be fooled. He had long been certain that his parents would not let him really leave, and the box was empty, just pretending. Har, he was unwilling to do the whole act, it was really perfunctory. Pretending? Lin Qingshan frowned and glanced at Su Xiumei. As a couple for nearly 30 years, they had a tacit understanding and understood each other. At this time, Lin Yu had come down from upstairs. Su Xiumei came forward and reached out to take the box in Lin Yu's hand. Lin Yu was surprised and quickly pulled the box behind him. Although it was only a moment, Su Xiumei still felt the weight of the box. Empty. Even if it was not completely empty, there should be only a few things in it. Lin Yu pulled hard and could still vaguely hear the shaking sound coming from inside. Lin Yu also realized that his little trick seemed to be discovered, and immediately said loudly, "Master Lin, Madam Lin, since I am not your biological son, I will not take the things in this house." As he said, he reluctantly took out several luxury car keys from his bag. You know, these are his favorite things on weekdays. In order to make his parents regret, he risked everything. Su Xiumei and Lin Qingshan were originally unhappy, but when they saw that Lin Yu was really willing to hand over his favorite cars and his unfamiliar name for them, they suddenly softened their hearts. Did they misunderstand? Before they thought about it, Lin Xiao took the lead and took the car keys from Lin Yu. You? Lin Yu was so angry that his chest choked, but he still held it back. He forced out a smile with difficulty. "These are birthday gifts from Mr. Lin and Mrs. Lin. I hope my brother won't dislike them." Lin Xiao pretended not to understand Lin Yu's weird tone and said with a smile, "Since it was bought by my parents, how could I dislike it?" "Are you kidding? How could I dislike it? These cars will make a lot of money if they are resold. I have to make plans for myself first. After all, the Lin family will go bankrupt soon." Lin Xiao's voice immediately shocked Su Xiumei and Lin Qingshan. Their Lin family is not a small family, especially the several large industries in their hands, which are also ranked in the top 5 in this capital. And Su Xiumei's mother's family is also a century-old famous family. If someone had said before that the Lin family would go bankrupt, they would definitely sneer. But from just now, Lin Xiao's voice has never been wrong. This is really hard for them to accept. Just as they were hesitating, there was a noise at the entrance. A tall young woman in a black windbreaker walked in. Looking around at the people present, her eyes finally stopped at Lin Xiao and the car keys in Lin Xiao's hand. With contempt and disgust in her eyes, she snorted, "You just came back and robbed other people's things. You really came from the countryside." Chu Ji. Su Xiumei frowned. This eldest daughter of hers has always been outspoken and protective. It seems that she didn't understand the situation and thought that Lin Yu was really bullied. Lin Xiao also looked up. "I saw that Lin Chuj had a stunning appearance, delicate makeup, and long curly hair scattered on her shoulders. Especially under the height of 1.72 meters, the pair of slender legs, standing there, exuded a proud temperament of a superior. It's just that her expression was a little cold, making it difficult for people to approach. As expected of the heir of the Lin family. As expected of the iceberg beauty female president of Beijing? But it's a pity that she is a heroine of a sad novel. Not only will she be cheated of money and sex by her bestie and the scumbag, but she will also be taken out of her heart and kidneys, and 1 corpse and 5 lives, tut tut tut. Too miserable." Hearing this voice, the Lin family couple and Lin Chuj herself were stunned. A sad heroine. Take out your heart and kidneys. Also, 1 corpse and 5 lives, does it mean that Lin Chuj is pregnant with 4 children? The Lin family couple pricked up their ears silently, wanting to hear Lin Xiao's voice continue. Although Lin Chuj also heard this voice, she just thought she was hallucinating. She does have a fiancé now, who was introduced by Lin Yu before. There is no problem with his family background, and his character and ability are also good. It can be said that they are well matched. But in this society ruled by law, how could her organs be taken away casually? And her bestie, who has been a good friend for more than 10 years and has shared hardships, will never betray her. At this time, Lin Chuj saw that her parents' expressions also turned into a look of shock and worry. Could it be that they also heard that voice? "Dad, Mom, did you also hear?" "Chuj." Lin Qingshan reacted instantly, immediately winked, and interrupted, "Since you are back, hurry up to help Xiaoyu take the things upstairs. Xiaoyu is so old and still has a childish temper. As a sister, you should persuade him." Sushilme also echoed, "Yes, Xiaoyu has listened to you since he was a child. You persuade him." Seeing his parents winking at him, Lin Chuj had to temporarily suppress the doubts in his heart. Seeing this, Lin Yu wanted to continue pretending to leave. But he was glared back by Lin Chuj's cold eyes. What the Lin couple said was right. He was not afraid of his parents since he was a child, but only afraid of this elder sister. In desperation, he had to carry the box upstairs obediently, and did not dare to mention leaving again. Lin Xiao felt a little regretful. Fortunately, he had been mentally prepared, knowing that the Lin family and Lin Yu had a deep relationship and it was impossible for them to really let Lin Yu leave. But it was also good this way. Lin Yu was a time bomb, and it was safer to keep an eye on him than to leave him outside. Chapter 5 No School. At noon, the family gathered at the dining table. The Lin couple were kind and enthusiastic. Knowing that Lin Xiao had not had a good life in recent years, they kept picking up food for him. Lin Xiao also accepted everything and ate very happily. It must be said that the cooking skills of the Lin family's aunt are really good. Lin Yu and Lin Chuj were out of tune with the atmosphere. Lin Yu clenched his left hand tightly under the dining table. Seeing that the Lin couple was so good to Lin Xiao, he was very unhappy, but he didn't dare to show it. But Lin Chuj wrote her dissatisfaction on her face, and kept silent, occasionally casting a touch of contempt and inquiry. She hated Lin Xiao, but also wanted to know what the voice just now was. Everyone at the table had their own ulterior motives. Finally, seeing that Lin Xiao had almost finished eating, Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei looked at each other. "By the way, Xiao, your mother and I just discussed that since you have come back, you will take over the family company sooner or later. I wonder if you are interested in coming to the company to have a look." This is the result of the discussion between Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei just now. They are still worried and want to know why the Lin family will go bankrupt in the future. But they can't ask Lin Xiao in person, and they don't want Lin Xiao to find out that they can hear his thoughts. After thinking about it, they came to the conclusion that the best way is to let Lin Xiao join the company. After working in the company for a long time, Lin Xiao's thoughts will always reveal something. Lin Xiao paused while eating, looked up and said in surprise, "Dad, Mom, but I don't know anything." "It's okay, you can start from the bottom. Anyway, the company will be yours in the future. It won't hurt for you to learn more first." Lin Qingshan thought Lin Xiao was really modest. Unexpectedly, he heard Lin Xiao's thoughts the next second. "You are already a rich second generation, why do you still have to work? Isn't it better to just give up? And I still have to go to college, there are people waiting for me to teach them a lesson." Lin Xiao's voice sounded a little irritable and anxious, but his face was very calm. Lin Qingshan's eyes twitched slightly, and he thought to himself that his own son's acting skills were not bad. When Su Xiumei heard that her son wanted to go to school so much, she realized that her son might have missed the opportunity to receive education in recent years due to poor conditions. She immediately tugged at the corner of Lin Qingshan's clothes and changed her mind. "Husband, we may be a little impatient. Xiao is still young and should go to school first. It's not too late to come to the company after graduation. Dad, Mom, I also think that brother Lin Xiao should go to school." At this time, Lin Yu spoke out of character. Lin Xiao pouted. This Lin Yu is really thick-skinned. When he was pretending to be pitiful when he was about to leave, he called him Master Lin and Madam Lin. Why is he calling him Mom and Dad now? Lin Yu recalled the information he had investigated before, so he would not miss this opportunity to humiliate Lin Xiao. "Dad, there is still half a year before the college entrance examination next year. Recently, our university is cooperating with an outside institution to recruit students. You can get in by paying a little money," Lin Yu said with false sincerity. Lin Qingshan frowned slightly. If he remembered correctly, the only institution recruiting students at this time should be a fake institution registered with the school. If you can graduate by paying, then the diploma is not so valuable as to say it has a stain. A stain on IQ. But according to the investigation, Lin Xiao did not take the college entrance examination before. People who don't even have grades can't be sent to a decent school. If you don't want to repeat half a year and wait until next year to take the exam, the only way should be to send you abroad. Lin Qingshan pinched his chin hesitantly. But at this moment, Lin Xiao suddenly smiled. Dad, Mom, I forgot to tell you that I have a school, which is a university where Lin Yu is. Dad, Mom, it seems that brother Lin Xiao really wants to go to school and has already signed up. A hint of sarcasm flashed in Lin Yu's eyes. Lin Xiao pretended not to hear Lin Yu's sarcasm, took out his phone, and opened a student background interface, finance major. Going to such a fake institution to study finance, aren't you afraid of being? Before the word joke was uttered, Lin Yu stared at Lin Xiao's mobile phone screen. The student background interface of a university is different from that of other schools. It is carefully designed and very distinctive. Only students of the school can use it, even those nominal cooperative institutions cannot use it. And at this time, what was in Lin Xiao's phone was the orthodox student background. The score line of a university's finance major is almost ranked in the top 3 in the country. How could Lin Xiao get in? After a moment of shock, Lin Yu's expression quickly relaxed. He absolutely did not believe that Lin Xiao could really be admitted to a university. This so-called admission interface was 100% fake. He chuckled and said, "Brother Lin Xiao, it's a good thing to want to go to school, but you can't fake it like this and deceive yourself. You just took a screenshot and photoshopped it to deceive your parents. I've seen a lot of this kind of thing." As he said that, he poked Lin Xiao's mobile phone screen a few times, trying to expose Lin Xiao's lies. Unexpectedly, the interface slid up and down normally. "It's not a picture. This is ridiculous. The student website specially designed by a university has been faked. Report it, you must report it." Lin Yu was a little annoyed. What made him unhappy was that the fake technology was getting more and more advanced, which made him embarrassed in front of his parents. In his heart, he would rather believe that Lin Xiao spent a lot of money to fake it, and he didn't believe that Lin Xiao could really get into a university. Lin Xiao saw Lin Yu's thoughts and was too lazy to continue arguing. He knew whether it was true or false. And as the saying goes, whoever claims must provide evidence. If Lin Yu questioned his student status, he needed to prove it first, instead of him proving it himself. Seeing that Lin Xiao didn't say anything, Lin Yu thought he was guilty. He continued to say, "Dad, Mom, you have to investigate this matter carefully, don't be fooled by him." Lin Yu's tone was very impatient, and Sushumei frowned a little unhappy. "Xiao Yu, didn't I teach you not to speculate about others with malice for no reason? We originally wanted Xiao to go directly to the company. What reason does he have to lie to us?" "Mom, that's not what I mean." Lin Yu also suddenly realized that he was a little anxious, and quickly changed his words. "I am also worried that brother Lin Xiao was deceived by people outside. A few days ago, the news said that someone pretended to be a student and deliberately cheated money." After hearing these words, Sushumei's expression finally eased a little. Lin Qingshan certainly knew Lin Yu's little thoughts. But it is a fact that Lin Xiao did not take the college entrance examination, and he did not go to school for the past 6 months. Xiao, actually what Xiao Yu said makes sense. Why don't you talk to your parents about it in detail, so as not to be deceived? Hey. Lin Xiao sighed and put down his chopsticks silently. He took out his mobile phone and dialed a number on the spot. Chapter 6 Large Face Slapping Scene. Soon, the call was connected. A gentle voice came from the other side. "Lin Xiao, what's wrong?" "Teacher Li, I just want to ask you to get a copy of the materials for our first-year compulsory course in finance. I want to take a look at it in advance, so that it will be easier when I make up for it later." Lin Xiao said politely. "Okay, I'll send it to your email later." "Lin Xiao, have you dealt with your affairs? If you need help, be sure to tell the teacher, and don't resist it yourself." Teacher Li's tone was full of worry. "Don't worry, Teacher Li, I will be able to go back to school soon." After a few simple greetings, Lin Xiao hung up the phone. He raised his eyes and said to the person at the table calmly, "This is my counselor, Ms. Li Xiaoli from the finance department of a university." Unexpectedly, Lin Yu laughed out loud. "Lin Xiao, you are 100% deceived. How can you not go to school for half a year and then make up for it? If that's possible, wouldn't the school be in chaos? You are really from the countryside, you don't know anything, and you can be fooled by such a crude scam." This time, Lin Yu's sarcasm was not concealed. After this phone call, Lin Qingshan and Sushumei also felt more and more unreliable. Lin Xiao sighed lightly and said silently, "Dad, I remember you have cooperated with a university. It shouldn't be difficult to call the student management center there to ask. Things turned out like this. Lin Xiao and Sushilme were a little embarrassed. It stands to reason that they were too distrustful of their son by asking so many questions. But Lin Xiao had said so much, and he couldn't help but get things thoroughly clear. There was no other way, so Lin Xiao could only bite the bullet and call the old acquaintance. "Old Zhang, I have to trouble you again this time. I want to check my son's academic information. Not the son before, but my biological son who I just found. Yes, he said he is also from your school, majoring in finance. Not to mention, Lin Xiao is also one of the financial sponsors of a university. As long as the request is not too excessive, either side can meet it." Soon, a document was sent over. Lin Xiao clicked it, and it was a document of academic information. Lin Xiao, male, ID number XXX, was admitted as an exception due to participating in a confidential project. Lin Xiao read the whole thing blankly and looked up at Lin Xiao. Maybe others don't know the 4 words, confidential project, but he knows it. A university is a key university, and many scientific research projects are top-notch in the country. Anything that involves confidentiality is the top of the top. At this time, Lin Chuj, who had been silent, also raised his head. The Lin family's company will also be involved in some scientific research projects, and they probably have heard about special admissions. But she doesn't understand how a poor boy like Lin Xiao from the countryside can contribute to top scientific research. When everyone was shocked, a discordant voice sounded. "Hey, still keeping it secret? I think the school just took the money and deliberately found an excuse. Otherwise, Lin Xiao, tell me yourself, what confidential project did you participate in?" Lin Yu asked with a sneer. Lin Xiao said lightly, "Lin Yu, if you want to go in and step on the sewing machine, don't implicate us." Lin Yu has always been unlearned and has no idea what Lin Xiao means. He laughed and said, Yo, you are quite good at pretending. You want to send your whole family in. Do you really think you are such a great person?" Enough. Sushilme finally couldn't bear it anymore. From Lin Yu's initial anger to his ignorance and fearlessness at this time, she began to doubt whether there was really something wrong with her education of Lin Yu over the years. No matter whether the other members of the Lin family are smart or not, or whether they have high or low abilities, at least they are well educated and modest about unknown things, especially to their relatives, and never make malicious speculations. Why is Lin Yu like this? Is it really a blood-related genetic problem? Although Lin Chuj was somewhat displeased with Lin Yu's attitude, he still patiently explained when he saw his parents' bad faces, "Xiao Yu, you don't know that such confidential projects must sign a confidentiality agreement in advance. Once leaked, everyone will be investigated." Lin Yu's sarcastic smile froze on his face, but he still didn't give up. Even if he was admitted by exception, why didn't he go to school for half a year? The tone was still questioning, but the confidence was not so strong. As soon as the words fell, Lin Xiao's mobile phone rang, and it was an unfamiliar number. After the call was connected, the gentle voice just now rang again. "Dad, Lin Xiao, I am Lin Xiao's counselor Li Xiaoli, and the situation is like this." It turned out that after Lin Xiao asked about Lin Xiao's academic status, he directly notified the department. Teacher Li was worried about what might happen to Lin Xiao's family, so she called to explain. "In short, our school really cherishes this good seedling. With his level, he doesn't need to take a leave of absence. He can make up for the lessons after school. I have discussed this with the leaders above. I hope you understand and don't stop him from going to school." Teacher Li's explanation was gentle at the beginning, but his tone became harsh at the end. Lin Xiao hurriedly responded awkwardly. After finally hanging up the phone, he slowly breathed a sigh of relief and glared at Lin Yu unhappily. It's all because this kid doesn't believe this or that, causing him to be regarded as a father who doesn't understand his son and is irresponsible. Sushilme noticed another problem. Xiao, what does Teacher Li mean by not stopping you from going to school? Did your adoptive parents stop you from going to school before? Well, this matter is a bit complicated. I'll tell you slowly later. Lin Xiao didn't want to explain too much, so he lowered his head silently. This look made Sushilme feel so distressed. Such an excellent son almost lost the opportunity to go to school. She didn't even dare to think about how much hardship her son had suffered in life. Compared with Lin Xiao, Lin Yu was somewhat ungrateful. The Lin family provided Lin Yu with such good living conditions, and invited famous teachers to teach him in his studies. But what was the result? His score was not enough to get into a private university. In the end, the Lin family donated 2 laboratories to University A, and only then could they barely squeeze him in. Lin Yu was severely slapped in the face today, and he was furious. For the whole afternoon, he stayed in his room without coming out. Lin Xiao sat in the living room, leisurely eating fruit. He knew that Lin Yu must be thinking of ways to harm him again, but he was not worried at all. Anyway, he could know in advance no matter what that guy did. Because he had a magical melon-eating system. Chapter 7: The Pervert Who Steals Underwear. Lin Xiao traveled to this world, and when he traveled, he obtained this magical melon-eating system. At first, he felt that compared with other powerful golden fingers, this melon-eating system was very useless. But now it seems quite interesting. Being able to know some explosive news in advance satisfies his melon-eating mentality. Host, new melons are coming again. Just now, Lin Yu stuffed the sexy underwear of the second daughter of the Lin family into their host's quilt. Their host will soon be regarded as a pervert. Hearing the excited and mean voice of the system in his mind, Lin Xiao had a headache. How come he ate the melon again? No wonder he heard sneaky footsteps coming from upstairs just now. At the same time, the Lin couple at home, and the eldest sister Lin Chuj also heard Lin Xiao's voice. Damn it! Lin Yu, that idiot, actually used such a despicable method to disgust me. Slandering me for stealing my second sister's underwear? It's amazing that he could think of that. Wait, could this guy really have a criminal record? Any normal person who could think of such a perverted method? After hearing this, the Lin couple and Lin Chuj were stunned. But their first reaction was that it was impossible. Even if Lin Yu was a little naughty before, he probably wouldn't joke about such things. After all, my second sister Lin Baixian has a serious misophonia. If this was discovered, Lin Xiao would definitely be sent to prison for sexual harassment. Lin Xiao himself certainly knew this a long time ago. He immediately rushed back to his room, opened the quilt, and sure enough, he saw a very sexy white hollow lace underwear rolled up inside. His face flushed. On the one hand, he was embarrassed, and on the other hand, he was angry. It's too much. If this is discovered, my second sister will use her scalpel to cut it off for me. Lin Xiao cursed inwardly and wanted to quietly send the underwear back. Unexpectedly, before he could leave, he heard Lin Baixuan's voice coming from downstairs. Dad, Mom, I'm back. Lin Xiao was a little panicked. If he went to Lin Baixuan's room now, he would be walking into a trap. He had to temporarily put his underwear in his pocket. Lin Yu should be the happiest person to hear Lin Baixian coming back. Lin Yu rushed out of his room, ran downstairs, and approached Lin Baixian. He lowered his voice and said with concern, "Second sister, there is something wrong with the boy my parents brought back. Just now I saw him sneaking into your room, and I clearly told him in advance. Lin Baixian has misophonia, and she doesn't like anyone to enter her room. Even the maids in charge of cleaning can only go in once a week, and after cleaning, Lin Baixian will spray disinfectant herself." Hearing that Lin Xiao actually went to her room without permission, she was immediately furious. How ridiculous! Lin Baixian snorted coldly and walked upstairs at a brisk pace. Back in the room, she quickly discovered that someone had been there. It seemed that her cabinet had been moved. Second sister, I saw that he seemed to have secretly taken something. Lin Yu pretended to be innocent and reminded. Lin Baixian immediately opened the cabinet to check. Her face changed instantly when she saw the small drawer with a crack inside. At this time, the Lin couple and Lin Chuj also came out. Looking at Lin Baixuan's expression, they seemed to realize something. Lin Chuj walked to Lin Baixian and asked a few questions in a low voice. Lin Baixian bit her lip and nodded silently. Second sister, did you lose something? Lin Xiao is still in the room. I will go to him to settle the score. Lin Yu saw that everything was going according to his plan, and he was secretly happy. Now he was going to take everyone to Lin Xiao's room to take the dirty. He wanted to see how Lin Xiao could stay in this house after everyone found out about the underwear in the quilt. He didn't care about other people's reactions and rushed to Lin Xiao's door and knocked hard. Lin Xiao! Open the door. I know you're in there. Open the door quickly. After knocking a few times, the door opened. Lin Xiao pretended to be unaware and looked at the people standing outside, and asked in confusion, "What's going on?" Hey, you stole my second sister's things, and you're still pretending to be innocent. Lin Yu squeezed into their house directly. Looking at the quilt, he became more and more excited. It was broad daylight, and he was sure that Lin Xiao would not go to bed so early, so he would definitely not find out what he hid in advance. When everyone came in, Lin Yu pretended to say, "Lin Xiao, now that things have come to this, just take out the things." "Take what?" Lin Xiao looked confused. Lin Yu rolled his eyes. "Do I have to explain myself clearly?" "Then go ahead." Lin Xiao blinked, still looking like he knew nothing. Okay, since you don't want to save face, don't blame me for being rude." Lin Yu cleared his throat and said loudly, "I just saw you coming out of my second sister's room and secretly taking something away." "Oh, you saw it wrong." Lin Xiao was very calm. According to Lin Yu's plan, Lin Xiao should have tried his best to explain at this time. In that case, he would appear to be very guilty. Unexpectedly, after Lin Xiao denied it, there was no more follow-up. Lin Yu was furious and shouted, "How could I have seen it wrong? Do you dare to let me search? Oh, then you search, and just clean it up for me after the search." Lin Xiao sat down on the small sofa next to him calmly, and gently raised his chin to Lin Yu, indicating that he was free. Lin Yu was waiting for this moment. He first pretended to open the cabinet and took a look, then walked to the bed and lifted the quilt. "Everyone come and see, isn't this?" However, he stopped talking halfway. He found that the things he had hidden were gone. Chapter 8: Men's Glory. At this time, there were only a few men's underwear in the quilt, which looked worn out. These were also stuffed in by Lin Yu to make Lin Xiao look more perverted. But why are there only these left now? Where is the sexy underwear? How is this possible? Lin Yu muttered to himself, raised his hand and searched randomly, turning the bed upside down. Hey! Don't touch my underwear! What's wrong with you? Why are you pulling other people's underwear? Lin Xiao pretended to be anxious and stepped forward to stop him, muttering, "Strange, my underwear was clearly put away, how come it all ran into the quilt?" The people around were speechless when they saw Lin Yu throwing other people's underwear. But at this moment, a pair of underwear was thrown over by Lin Yu. Everyone looked over subconsciously, and their eyes became a little subtle. There will be some bulges in the middle of worn men's underwear. And this bulge looks very big. Lin Yu was already feeling aggrieved because of the problem with the plan. Seeing his family's reaction at this time, he couldn't help but look over. Instantly, he blurted out in anger, "How could it be so big?" Everyone didn't expect Lin Yu to say such a thing directly, and their faces were a little embarrassed. They all thought about finding excuses to leave. Lin Xiao asked with a smile, "What? Do you still want to compete?" Lin Yu really had this idea. He was very unhappy with Lin Xiao now, and just wanted to suppress Lin Xiao, no matter in any aspect. But before Lin Yu could answer, a cold voice sounded behind him. "Shameless!" Lin Baixian snorted coldly, turned around and left. This sentence was obviously said to Lin Xiao, but Lin Xiao looked at Lin Yu with a smile, and said sarcastically, "Why do you turn over other people's underwear and care about others? Don't you have any fetish for men? You fart." Lin Yu couldn't explain, he just felt a blockage in his chest, and after cursing, he left angrily. The Lin couple and Lin Chuj watched this farce with their own thoughts. They originally wanted to prove the authenticity of the voice they heard, but they didn't see Lin Baishuan's underwear, so they had to continue to remain suspicious. During dinner, the atmosphere at the table became even weirder. At the beginning, the Lin couple wanted to try to let Lin Baixian and Lin Xiao get to know each other formally, but Lin Baishuan's attitude was very cold. Lin Xiao had no opinion on Lin Baixian. Not to mention that this was his biological sister. Just looking at Lin Baishuan's cute and lovely appearance, even without makeup, she was still beautiful, he would not have any opinion. After all, who would not like a beautiful sister? And this second sister is also a famous surgical expert in Beijing Hospital, who has saved countless people. She is a very powerful angel in white. It's a pity. At this time, Lin Baixian, who had been eating silently, suddenly heard a voice. "Hey, the second sister looks good on the surface, but she is also a pitiful person." Lin Baixian suddenly raised her head, but found that everyone else was eating silently with their heads down, and no one spoke. In fact, this was also because the Lin couple and Lin Chuj had discussed it before. In order to prevent Lin Xiao from finding out that they could hear her voice, they deliberately pretended that nothing happened. This made Lin Baishen confused. If she heard correctly, the voice seemed to be Lin Xiao's. But at this time, Lin Xiao was holding an elbow and chewing it hard, and he didn't care about talking at all. Poor second sister, she had clearly applied for a very good major before, but her choice was secretly changed by a classmate. Soon, her right hand will be disabled by that classmate, and she will never be able to hold a scalpel again in the rest of her life. This time, Lin Baishen looked carefully. Lin Xiao's mouth did not move, to be precise, no one's mouth moved. Could it be Lin Xiao's voice? Lin Baishen didn't tell anyone about the change of her choice. To be precise, she herself didn't know what happened. She always thought that she had filled in the wrong form, which led to her not being admitted to her first choice. Now that she thinks about it, what happened back then was indeed strange. She has always been a very serious and careful person, and the choice form is so important, how could she be careless? But she only remembered that she did go to fill in the application form with several classmates at that time. Could it be that someone really changed it? After thinking about it, she couldn't help but prick up her ears, wanting to hear Lin Xiao's voice continue. Not only her, but others also became serious. They also wanted to know who would make Lin Baishen unable to become a doctor in the future. However, Lin Xiao had already started to chew his elbow more attentively. He never mentioned the matter of Lin Baishuan's classmate. Ahem, Xiao, it was your second sister who wronged you today, don't be angry. Lin Qingshan tried to talk about Lin Baishen to let Lin Xiao continue his voice. But Lin Xiao just shook his head indifferently and said indifferently, "It doesn't matter, the second sister is also anxious, don't worry, I know that the second sister doesn't like others to go to her room, I won't go." Hearing these words, Lin Baishuan's heart sank again. Others don't know, but she knows in her heart that she did lose a piece of underwear. Besides, she and Lin Yu have been siblings for 20 years, so she naturally prefers Lin Yu. Since Lin Yu said that he saw Lin Xiao go to her room, and she did lose something, even if she didn't find it in Lin Xiao's room, Lin Xiao is still very suspicious. In addition, she saw Lin Xiao casually stuff his underwear into the quilt just now, so she couldn't help but suspect that Lin Xiao might really be a pervert. After dinner, Lin Baishen was still worried about hearing Lin Xiao's inner voice. She has always been a materialist, so she doesn't believe in these messy things. After thinking it over and over again, she contacted a familiar psychiatrist and planned to go there tomorrow to see. Perhaps she had a lot of work pressure recently and had auditory hallucinations. In short, before there was definite evidence, she would never believe that she could hear any inner voice. Chapter 9 By Inland. At night, the Lin couple lay in bed tossing and turning. They were also thinking about what Lin Xiao was thinking, wondering if it was true or not. Although some of what happened during the day had come true, the fact that Lin Yu had framed Lin Xiao for hiding underwear had not been confirmed, so they could not act rashly. But Lin Xiao had been having a hard time outside these years, and they owed him something. After discussing it, they decided to make up for it in the simplest and most brutal way. Buy a car and a house. As long as Lin Yu had it before, Lin Xiao must have it too. The next day, a pile of real estate information was piled in front of Lin Xiao. Xiao, see if there is anything you like. Su Xiumei sat aside and asked gently. Lin Yu gritted his teeth when he saw this scene. He clenched his fists tightly, but did not dare to say anything more. Lin Xiao was also a little confused. He came from a time travel, and he didn't know much about this world. How could he know where the real estate was good? Moreover, most of these materials are real estate propaganda, each of which is exaggerated and has little reference value. There is no way, he had to try to call the system in his mind. Unexpectedly, the system really responded. The melon-eating system is online. Jinfu Home, average price 38,000 yuan, no disasters in the next 50 years, no appreciation space. Feikui Garden, average price 62,000 yuan, no disasters in the next 50 years, appreciation space within 5%. Future City, average price 43,000 yuan, there will be a fire and 3 jumping incidents in the next 50 years, appreciation space is negative 50%. After such a series of introductions, Lin Xiao found that there were no good houses here at all. The appreciation space is basically within 10%, and the lowest fell below negative 80%. At this time, the system prompt sounded again. Host, the price of wasteland will soon double. You can pay attention to it. Lin Xiao's eyes lit up immediately, pointing to a map on a promotional page, and said, "Mom, I want this." "Oh? Longxing Garden." Sushilme tilted her head and looked over, recalling the situation of this community in her mind. But this seems to be just an ordinary community, and the house price is only about 10,000. This made Sushilme feel touched and distressed. The son is really sensible, saving money for them in this way. Lin Xiao shook his head, simply picked up a pen, circled on the map. "It's not Longxing Garden, it's here." Sushilme was puzzled, "But this seems to be a wasteland." "Yes, it's this wasteland." Lin Xiao raised his head and looked at Sushilme with a pair of clear eyes. "Mom, can I have this piece of land?" He, it's just a piece of wasteland, you really have a good eye." Lin Yu couldn't help but sneer at the side. Lin Xiao ignored Lin Yu and said to Sushilme seriously, "Mom, the price of this land will double in less than half a month." Sushilme frowned slightly. Their family made their fortune in real estate, and they also knew the value of various lands around them. But according to the information they had collected before, this land is located in a remote suburb, and the surrounding housing prices have not risen for many years. How could the price suddenly increase? When she was puzzled, she heard Lin Xiao's voice. "Hey, a rich mine owner is looking for a feng shui treasure land to build a house this year. He will soon take a fancy to this land. But we just got home, so we can't ask for a lot. Just one piece of land is good. Otherwise, we really buy all the surrounding lands together and make a fortune." Sushilme was shocked. These pieces of land are not favored by any of their real estate developers. There is no competition at all, and they can be bought at the lowest price. If the price really goes up, it would be a very cost-effective deal. Lin Yu couldn't hear Lin Xiao's voice, but only saw Sushilme's hesitation, so he sneered, "Mom, do you really believe his nonsense? Our Lin family didn't get the news that the price of the land would go up, how could he know? I think he just wants to fool you." "Okay, Xiao, I'll ask my assistant to go to the formalities this afternoon." Sushilme ignored Lin Yu. Anyway, Lin Xiao only wanted this small piece of land, which didn't cost much. Compared to the money they spent on Lin Yu over the years, it was a drop in the bucket. What really made her undecided was whether to believe Lin Xiao's voice and buy the other pieces of land around. No, time is tight and the task is heavy. She had to discuss it with her husband quickly. After that, she hurried to the study to call Lin Qingshan. Lin Yu was furious when he saw that his mother, who once loved him the most, now ignored his words. Lin Xiao ignored Lin Yu's cannibalistic look and went for a walk in the back garden. When Lin Qingshan received Sushilme's call, he rushed back from the company as soon as possible. After discussing, they made a decision. In addition to buying the land selected by Lin Xiao and giving it to him, they also quietly bought several nearby plots of land and recorded them in the company's name. The price of these plots of land is nothing to their Lin family. Even if it is a loss, it will not have much impact. They just want to verify whether Lin Xiao's voice is correct. When it was almost time for dinner, Lin Chuj suddenly came out of the room in a hurry. "Dad, Mom, don't prepare my meal, I have something to go to the company." This is not the first time, and Lin Qingshan and Sushilme didn't take it seriously. After responding, they continued to be busy. At this time, they heard Lin Xiao's voice again. TSK, being busy with work is really a universal excuse. Obviously, she is going to find that scumbag. Lin Qingshan and Sushilme looked at each other. Lin Qingshan put down the financial magazine in his hand, and Sushilme also put down the teacup in her hand. They pricked up their ears at the same time. Yesterday, they heard Lin Xiao's inner voice saying that Lin Chuj was a kind of abusive heroine who would be deceived by a scumbag and her bestie and end up with a tragic death. Today, we finally waited for the follow-up. Lin Chuj couldn't help but pause. Although she was skeptical about Lin Xiao's inner voice, she also wanted to hear about her own affairs. In this way, the three people at home pricked up their ears and waited patiently with their breath. Chapter 10, Abusive Heroine Lin Chuj. Soon, Lin Xiao's inner voice sounded. The scumbag by phone pretended to be with the eldest sister just for the power of the Lin family. Later, he not only cheated her of money and sex, but also stole the company's secrets, causing the tragic death of both parents, and the company also faced various crises. The eldest sister happened to be pregnant, so by phone took the opportunity to completely hollow out the company and transfer the equity. And by phone had been in a relationship with the eldest sister's best friend for a long time. The best friend also lied to the scumbag that she needed a kidney transplant. By phone didn't care about the life and death of the eldest sister and the child in her belly, and forcibly removed the eldest sister's kidney, causing the eldest sister to die of anger on the operating table. That best friend was really cruel. She didn't let the eldest sister go even after she died, and she also dug out her heart. Oh, so Lin Xiao is even more cruel. For a little bit of profit, he helped by phone chase the eldest sister. Alas! The faces of the three members of the Lin family were very complicated. Lin Xingshan and Su Xiumei were so angry when they heard about the cruel treatment of their daughters that they trembled all over. But they seemed to ignore the news of their own death in Lin Xiao's heart, and only thought that as long as they were alive, they would never let their daughter be bullied like this. It was Su Xiumei who calmed down first and gently squeezed Lin Xingshan's hand. She indicated that these were only Lin Xiao's thoughts at present, and could not prove the truth or falsehood. Lin Xingshan also reacted and adjusted his breathing silently. Lin Xiao frowned, half believing and half doubting. She wanted Lin Xiao to tell her more details, but after waiting for a long time, Lin Xiao was very quiet and seemed unwilling to tell. In order to hear more thoughts, Lin Xiao made a decision. By the way, Dad, Mom, if you have nothing tonight, I will bring Afeng back for dinner. It happens that you haven't seen each other for a long time. Okay. This arrangement really touched the hearts of the Lin couple. They also wanted to know the truth of the matter. But at this moment, Lin Xiao's voice sounded again. That scumbag can't come tonight. His hemorrhoids exploded and he was bleeding. He is now lying in the anorectal department of the People's Hospital. He. Hearing the gloating in the last he, Lin Xiao couldn't help but hold her forehead. It was because she just received a call from by phone, saying that he was busy and couldn't get away, and hoped that she could help send a document over. Could it be that the reason he couldn't get away was really a hemorrhoid problem? Lin Xiao walked out of the door quickly. She first went to another company to pick up the document according to the previous agreement with by phone. When she delivered it to by phone's office, she found that by phone was really not there. Only the assistant thanked him nervously. Ms. Lin, it's all thanks to you, otherwise. Lin Xiao glanced at the office and asked casually, where is your president Bai? Didn't he say he was busy? Why isn't he in the company? Yes, President Bai had something to do and had to go out for social events. He couldn't get away. The assistant wiped the sweat from his forehead and explained stiffly. Lin Xiao nodded gently and didn't ask any more questions. She would soon be able to verify the truth of Lin Xiao's words. After leaving Bai's, she went directly to the People's Hospital. Sure enough, she saw the familiar figure in the VIP ward of the anorectal department. By phone was lying on the bed, looking very embarrassed. It was precisely because he was lying that he didn't notice that she was standing at the door. Lin Xiao's face had become very ugly. She didn't care that by phone had concealed her hemorrhoids, but this time she confirmed that Lin Xiao's words were true. In other words, she will be hurt badly by this scumbag in the future. Lin Xiao narrowed her eyes. My scalp is itchy. The love brain that just grew up has died so hastily. At night, Lin Xiao came back alone. She didn't mention by phone's matter again. Others didn't know, but Lin Xingshan and Su Xiumei understood it all at once. I'm afraid Lin Xiao guessed all this. In order not to embarrass their daughter, they also didn't mention by phone's matter. Looking at the big bags and small bags that Lin Xiao was carrying, he asked with a smile, Xiao, are you going shopping today? Well, I went shopping for nothing. Lin Xiao took out a delicate little box from the bag and handed it to Lin Xiao, who was watching TV at the side. Xiao, I bought you a gift, see if you like it. As soon as these words came out, everyone present fell silent. Did they hear it wrong? Yesterday, Lin Xiao scolded Lin Xiao for coming from the countryside and only having money in his eyes. Why did you give me a gift today? Looking at the logo on the box, it was obviously worth a lot of money. Lin Xiao turned around with a curious look on his face, pointed at himself and asked, for me? Yes. Lin Xiao didn't say much. Lin Xiao smiled brightly and took the box happily. It was a watch. Looking at the low-key and luxurious dial, and the diamonds and sapphires inlaid, Lin Xiao was shocked. Although he didn't know much about watches, this must be worth hundreds of thousands, right? Thinking that the Lin family would go bankrupt in the future, he naturally wanted to save more private money before that. But there must be something wrong, and he couldn't let it go. Sister, this watch is too expensive, I can't accept it. After hesitating for a moment, he still shook his head. It's just 1 million, it's nothing. If you like anything else in the future, you can tell me and I'll give you a better one. Lin Xiao's tone was still not too enthusiastic, but it was obvious that she had recognized this brother from the countryside. Lin Yu came down from upstairs and saw this scene. He didn't want to lose his composure in front of his family again, so he suppressed his anger and asked casually, "Big sister is so good to brother Lin Xiao. I have always wanted this watch." After saying that, he blinked at Lin Chuj, hoping to attract more attention from Big Sister with this pitiful look. But what he didn't expect was that Lin Chuj just glanced at him coldly and said lightly, "I want to buy it myself." This was the first time that Lin Chuj was so cold to Lin Yu. She didn't want to be like this either, but when she remembered that Lin Yu introduced by phone to her for profit, she really didn't want to care about this good brother anymore. Lin Yu's chest was choked by the rebuke, and he felt even more aggrieved. But in front of so many people, he couldn't get angry. With a turn of his eyes, he suddenly thought of something. "By the way, today my parents only bought a house and land for brother Lin Xiao. They haven't bought a car yet, right? How about I take him to look at cars tomorrow? It just so happens that I know a lot about this." Chapter 11: Treating Trash as Treasure. The Lin family was a little surprised to hear Lin Yu say this. These 2 days, Lin Yu's attitude towards Lin Xiao was not very good. But Lin Yu has lived in this family for 20 years after all, and it is impossible for everyone to have no feelings for him. They thought that maybe Lin Yu was just not used to it. Now he may have thought it through and wanted to apologize to Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao did not refuse, he wanted to see what bad things Lin Yu was going to do. The next day, Lin Yu really took Lin Xiao to a 4S store specializing in imported luxury cars. But what he didn't expect was that Lin Yu's friends were waiting here early. Seeing Lin Yu and Lin Xiao coming, they all started to make a fuss. "Hey, Lin Yu, this is the new son your parents brought back. What a bumpkin." In fact, Lin Xiao's appearance is much better than Lin Yu's. His face is sharp and his features are handsome. He is tall and even half a head taller than Lin Yu. He also had a strong body and a pair of long legs from doing farm work. He looked like a male protagonist from a Korean drama. His skin was a little worse, a little dark from years of exposure to the sun. His hair was messy and not well groomed. The clothes he wore were bought by Xiao Li before. Since he didn't know Lin Xiao's preferences, he bought them according to Lin Yu's style. When he wore them on Lin Xiao, they looked a little out of place. This was also one of the reasons why these people mocked him. But Lin Xiao knew that these people were Lin Yu's friends. No matter what he looked like, they would not miss the opportunity to mock him. Lin Xiao was too lazy to pay attention to them and walked straight into the store. This kind of store specializing in luxury cars usually has few people. When they came in, several salesmen rushed over at a rapid speed as if they were suddenly injected with chicken blood. "Gentlemen, what kind of cars do you want to see? Are there any models you like? I can introduce them to you." Lin Xiao was about to smile and express his demands. But he found that these salesmen ignored him and went straight to other people. His eyes twitched slightly. Is it true that they treat people differently? Is discrimination so undisguised? Lin Xiao did not say much. If the salesman ignored him, he would just take a look for himself. It must be said that this store is not for ordinary people. The cheapest car costs 2 million, and in the middle is a limited edition car that is the treasure of the store. After Lin Xiao turned around, his eyes locked on an Aston Martin SUV. He is tall and it is too uncomfortable to drive a sports car. Although this SUV looks a little inconspicuous, it is more suitable for him. More than 3 million, wow, it's really expensive. Lin Xiao sighed and wanted to open the door to see the interior. But before he touched it, a sharp cry came from behind, What are you doing?" Then, a woman in her 30s walked over quickly. "You are not allowed to touch the cars here." Lin Xiao frowned and asked, "Why are you touching if you are not going to buy it? What if you scratch it, can you afford to pay for it?" The woman stood in front of Lin Xiao with a look of disgust. Lin Xiao was almost laughing out of anger. He was too lazy to argue with such a woman, so he simply walked to the table and chairs nearby and sat down. Anyway, he was not in a hurry, he wanted to see what expressions these salesmen would have when they found out that those people did not plan to buy cars after working for a long time. At this time, a cup of warm water was handed to him. Then a timid voice sounded, I think it's expensive too. What? Lin Xiao raised his head in confusion. A cute little girl was standing in front of him. She smiled shyly at him and said in a low voice, the cars here are really too expensive. Lin Xiao realized that the girl was agreeing with what he had just said, and he couldn't help laughing. New here? Yes, I came here for internship last month. Yes. Lin Xiao silently glanced at the girl's work badge on her chest. Lu Xiao. It's really an appropriate name. At this time, the salesman surrounding Lin Yu finally saw some clues. These dandies not only had no intention of buying a car, but also teased them and spoke rudely to them. Even if they realized this, they didn't dare to offend them. They could only force a smile and try their best to appease these young masters. Lu Xiao. Lin Xiao waved to the girl next to him and said with a smile, make an order, I want this model. Lu Xiao seemed to have not reacted yet, standing there blankly for a long time without moving. Lin Xiao then asked, when will the new car arrive? New car, next month. Lu Xiao finally realized something, and her cute little face was filled with excitement. Immediately ran to the office inside, took out the documents of various procedures, put them in front of Lin Xiao, and planned to explain them to Lin Xiao in detail. But Lin Xiao raised his hand, signed his name directly, and handed over a black card. A set of procedures flowed smoothly, without any drag. Lu Xiaoxiao's eyes were full of excitement. I have been working here for more than a month, and this is the first order. Lin Xiao was also refreshed and got up and walked out the door. The salesperson was already full of irritation because of Lin Yu and his teasing, and he had no place to vent his anger. Seeing that Lin Xiao was about to leave, she seemed to have found an outlet, and said in a pointed way, if you don't want to buy, leave early. However, before she could finish her words, she saw the receipt in Lin Xiao's hand. Lin Xiao also raised his hand at the right time, it's okay if the brain is not good, but I'm afraid that it's bad eyesight, and I like to look at people and treat garbage as treasures. Lin Xiao can be said to have scolded two groups of people with one sentence. Lin Yu's face also became a little ugly. The salesman also realized something immediately, and looked at Lu Xiaoxiao one after another, with unwillingness in their eyes. Lin Xiao originally planned to leave directly. But what he didn't expect was that he accidentally bumped into a woman of the same age at the door of the store. Lin Xiao. Why are you here? When the woman saw Lin Xiao's face clearly, her face suddenly became very bad. Lin Xiao looked up and down at the woman, constantly searching for the original owner's memory in his mind. Liang Xiaowei. After a long time, he finally noticed a hint of familiarity in the woman's eyebrows. Liang Xiaowei was his high school classmate and the school beauty. When she was in school, she was the dream girl of many high school boys with her pure and elegant appearance. But now she is wearing heavy makeup and has lost her purity. Lin Xiao did not have a good impression of Liang Xiaowei and did not intend to greet her. But Liang Xiaowei was relentless and shouted angrily, Lin Xiao, it turns out that you are the one who haunts me. Didn't I reject your confession back then? Why haven't you let me go for so long? Chapter 12 Lin Baishuan's Bloody Disaster. Liang Xiaowei's output made Lin Xiao confused. Let alone the fact that this time they met was purely a coincidence, just to say that when he was in school before, he had never confessed to Liang Xiaowei. At most, he was made a few jokes by those school bullies who bullied him. Lin Yu and his friends came out of the store and happened to hear Liang Xiaowei's complaints. Lin Xiao, this is your fault. How can you be so persistent when chasing a girl? Yeah, don't you look at yourself. A toad wants to eat swan meat. After mocking Lin Xiao, they gradually discovered that Liang Xiaowei seemed to be quite pretty. One of them stepped forward and said, Beauty, you can consider our master Yu. As long as you are with him, you will never let these cats and dogs harass you again. Liang Xiaowei has been in various chaotic occasions over the years and has met many people. Seeing Lin Yu's second-generation rich dress, her eyes suddenly flashed. Walked slowly to Lin Yu and said delicately, Hello, Master Yu, my name is Liang Xiaowei, nice to meet you. Of course, Lin Yu would not pick up a girlfriend casually from the street. At most, he would just play with her. But this is the girl Lin Xiao had confessed to before, so the nature is different. He put his arm around Liang Xiaowei's shoulders and glanced at Lin Xiao provocatively, Oh, so this is the girl that Lin Xiao can't get. Liang Xiaowei blushed and said coquettishly, Young Master Yu, stop joking with me. Lin Xiao's mind was already filled with gossip about Liang Xiaowei. Oh, she's still a school beauty. Her private life is so bad, and she's had 4 abortions at such a young age. Anyway, I haven't confessed my feelings. Anyone who likes this kind of woman can take her away quickly, but don't have anything to do with me. Lin Yu, be careful of getting sick. Lin Xiao's expression management is very good, and he still looks indifferent. No matter how Lin Yu provokes him, he is unmoved. I wish Lin Yu could take Liang Xiaoxue to do something. Sure enough, Lin Xiao's reaction made Lin Yu think that he had the upper hand, and he was very happy. He immediately hugged Liang Xiaoxue and left with a wretched face. Before leaving, he threw dozens of dollars in front of Lin Xiao. My young master is going to have fun. Take a taxi back by yourself. Behind the 4S shop is a large car repair shop. Last week, Lin Baixuan's car broke down and was sent here for repair. Today, the clerk notified her to pick up the car. But as soon as she arrived near the repair shop, she heard the strange voice from yesterday again. This made her a little upset. Professor Song, I feel that my auditory hallucination symptoms have worsened again. If you have free time, I will go there in about half an hour. Lin Baixian was worried that if she continued to delay like this, she would completely become schizophrenic. Immediately contacted a familiar psychiatrist and wanted to go for a checkup immediately. But as soon as her car drove out of the repair shop, she saw a familiar figure on the side of the road. Lin Xiao. Why is he here? Lin Xiao also saw Lin Baixian, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he ran over immediately. Lin Baixian didn't like Lin Xiao and didn't want to pay attention to him. But after all, he was her own brother, and it was not good to pretend not to see him, so she slowly stopped for a while. It was just a short stop, and Lin Xiao opened the car door without hesitation and sat down. Second sister. Great, you are here too. He pretended not to see Lin Baixuan's frown that could kill a fly. Second sister, you are on the way. Not on the way. Lin Baixian interrupted without hesitation. Hey, I haven't said where I'm going yet, how can it be on the way? Lin Xiao was thick-skinned and fastened his seat belt on his own. Lin Baixian was helpless. She had to start the car first and planned to send Lin Xiao back first. Lin Xiao sat comfortably in the back seat and closed his eyes to rest. But at this moment, the system's voice suddenly sounded. Alarm, Lin Baixian is about to encounter a bloody disaster. What? Bloody disaster? Lin Xiao sat up straight and asked the system in his mind what was going on. But the system, which was always sensitive, was silent. Lin Xiao then remembered that the system seemed to have reminded him that it was not authorized to give too many reminders when it came to matters of life and death. Could it be that Lin Baixian would be in big trouble? Thinking of this, Lin Xiao hurriedly said, Second sister, are you going to work at the hospital? Yes. Lin Baixian nodded lightly. Then I won't go home. I'll go with you. Lin Xiao casually made an excuse, I've had a headache these past 2 days. I might have caught a cold. I'll go to the doctor to get some medicine. Lin Baixian glanced at Lin Xiao through the rearview mirror. It seemed that she wanted to see clearly what this guy was up to. But seeing Lin Xiao's serious look, she agreed. About 40 minutes later, the car stopped at the hospital parking lot. Lin Xiao followed behind Lin Baixian, keeping an eye on everything. After all, he didn't know where the bloody disaster came from, so he had to pay attention at all times. Registration is over there. Lin Baixian pointed to a row of windows in the hospital lobby. Lin Xiao responded perfunctorily and walked towards the window first. After Lin Baixian entered the elevator, he immediately ran to the stairs and rushed to the surgical office on the 6th floor where Lin Baixian was. When he arrived at the 6th floor, before he could catch his breath, he heard a cry of surprise not far away. Murder! Go call the security guard. Someone is killing someone. The people in front fled in all directions. Lin Xiao's heart sank, and he didn't care about resting, and ran over there quickly. From a distance, he saw a man in a hospital gown, holding a fruit knife in his hand, shouting and waving it non-stop. You all deserve to die. You all deserve to die. The man's eyes were red and his voice was hoarse. He seemed to be unconscious. The security guard hadn't come yet, and no one dared to step forward. Several nurses hid beside Lin Xiao, whispering. It seems like a mental patient run down from upstairs. I heard that his wife had a car accident last month and was no longer breathing when she was sent to the hospital, but he thought we didn't try our best to save her. Crazy, just a lunatic. Lin Xiao looked around at Lin Baixian, but found that she didn't seem to be here. Just when he was about to breathe a sigh of relief, he heard a ding sound from the elevator next to the man. The elevator door slowly opened. Lin Baixian and a middle-aged woman in her 50s or 60s walked out of the elevator, seemingly discussing something, and didn't notice the situation outside. "It's you killed my wife. I'm going to kill you." When the man saw Lin Baixian, his eyes instantly became redder. With a roar, he rushed up with a knife. Chapter 13 Cat reveals shocking news. Lin Baixian had never seen such a scene before, and was stunned on the spot. Her pale face was full of fear. Just as the knife was about to chop down, a shadow rushed over quickly and kicked the man in the back. The man's body could not help but fall to the side. Lin Xiao knocked the knife out of the man's hand with lightning speed and pressed him to the ground. He pulled a roll of bandage from the nurse station and tied the man's hands from behind. "Let me go. I'm going to kill her." The man was still struggling and shouting. Lin Xiao was annoyed and took another pack of gauze and stuffed it into the man's mouth. After solving all this, he clapped his hands, walked to Lin Baixian, and asked with concern, "Second sister, are you okay?" "No, I'm fine." Lin Baixian took a deep breath and calmed down with difficulty. Rather than being afraid, she was more shocked by her brother's skills. Even professionals would not dare to act rashly against a madman with a knife. But Lin Xiao kicked him away. And the way he tied people up showed that he was experienced. Could this guy have done something weird before? Lin Baixian's thoughts diverged unconsciously. When she reacted, she immediately shook her head. It seems that she has really had mental problems recently. Lin Xiao breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Lin Baixian was fine. The bloody disaster should be solved. Lin Baixian had a headache. Although she was very grateful to Lin Xiao for saving her life, this was her workplace after all. What was the matter with someone following her? After thinking about it, she took out her mobile phone and transferred 1 million to Lin Xiao, and made an excuse, "Thank you for today's matter. I should treat you to a meal, but I'm too busy at work. This money is for you. Buy something delicious." "Oh, okay then." Lin Xiao could see that Lin Baixian still didn't like him. Just as she saw the police coming, she waved and said goodbye to Lin Baixian. After dealing with the farce, Lin Baixian finally had the opportunity to communicate with the professor of psychiatry. She explained the recent situation to Professor Song, especially the voices she heard. After thinking it over again and again, Professor Song persuaded, "Baixian, I think you should be too stressed out at work recently and too tired. If possible, I suggest you take a break for a while. Lin Baixian is really tired recently. She is busy with operations every day and has to take in turns. In addition, the mental illness today made her feel a little resistant to work. It just so happened that the colleague who had taken leave before came back to work. She asked for annual leave to take a break for a while, and the leader should approve it." Professor Song also said some good things for Lin Baixian at the hospital, and the leader agreed to let Lin Baixian start to rest from today. Lin Baixian felt relieved and drove away from the hospital. On their way home, she met Lin Xiao again. At this time, Lin Xiao was riding a shared bicycle, leisurely parked next to the park, watching a group of old men walking their birds. Lin Baixian didn't know what was going on, and suddenly she was a little curious about Lin Xiao's behavior, so she also parked her car on the side of the road and watched Lin Xiao quietly. After a while, she saw a beautiful woman walking towards Lin Xiao. Holding a mobile phone, it seemed that she was asking for Lin Xiao's contact information. But Lin Xiao just waved his hand and didn't give it. "Hey, you actually refused." Lin Baixian smiled with some disdain, and couldn't help feeling that Lin Xiao was a little pretentious. At this time, a stray cat walked to Lin Xiao's feet and rubbed back and forth. Lin Xiao smiled and said, "You guy, didn't I just feed you a sausage? Why are you here again?" The stray cat meowed twice, as if it remembered something, and planned to rub against other people again. Hey, your vigilance is too poor. If you continue like this, be careful of being kidnapped and having your balls cut off." Lin Xiao reminded. The stray cat was stunned and looked down at its butt weakly. It didn't know if it was an illusion, but it felt that its balls were a little cold. Lin Xiao was amused by the stray cat's appearance. He squatted down and gently touched the cat's head. "It's better to cut it off. In the future, there will be no worldly desires, and you can concentrate on eating." The stray cat meowed a few times unhappily, expressing its dissatisfaction and protection of its balls. Since crossing, Lin Xiao found that he could communicate with animals. According to his guess, perhaps he had an unusual connection with this space when crossing, which gave him such ability. Lin Baixian watched Lin Xiao and the stray cat talking to each other from a distance, and couldn't help being curious. It stands to reason that these stray cats are very wary of people. But looking at Lin Xiao's appearance, this stray cat is not only not afraid of him, but also chats with him. Can they really understand each other? Why does it feel that Lin Xiao is the one with a mental illness in comparison? Lin Baixian found that she had such an inexplicable thought again, and couldn't help rolling her eyes. How bored was she that she actually watched Lin Xiao playing with the cat here? She immediately started the car and was about to leave. But at this moment, she suddenly heard Lin Xiao's voice again. What? Dismembered body. Oh my god, is it so scary? Lin Baixian was also stunned, turned her head to look at Lin Xiao, and found that Lin Xiao had followed the stray cat to a remote place in the park. Could it be that Lin Xiao really got some news from the stray cat? Although Lin Baixian thought this was very absurd, she still followed secretly. At this time, Lin Xiao was also panicked. He even suspected that he had a problem with his understanding of cat language. Otherwise, how could he get the news about dismembered body from the cat? But he was still worried, so he followed the stray cat all the way to a remote place. From a distance, he smelled an unpleasant smell, and a strange fear rose in his heart. He had read popular science before, and it was said that this fear was the subconscious reaction of humans to the smell of decaying corpses of the same kind, in order to avoid danger. But now, he had to go towards danger. After a while, he saw 7 or 8 stray cats, gnawing around something. When he got closer, he found that they were several black plastic bags. The bags had been bitten by stray cats, revealing the minced meat inside. Chapter 14. He has a problem with his brain. Lin Xiao almost couldn't help vomiting. He took 2 steps back and wanted to call the police. Unexpectedly, Lin Baixian's voice came from behind. Just stand here and don't move. Let me see the situation first. Second sister. Why are you here? Lin Xiao was also surprised that Lin Baixian appeared here. Lin Baixian didn't bother to explain, took out the gloves and mask she carried with her from her bag, put them on, and walked towards the black plastic bags. Hey, you guys, stop eating, the meat might be poisonous, get out of the way. Lin Xiao waved to the stray cats. The stray cats could understand what he said, and after hesitating for a long time, they spit out the meat in their mouths and ran to the side reluctantly. Lin Baixian was once again surprised that Lin Xiao could communicate with cats. After dealing with the matter in front of her, she must ask how he did it. Lin Baixian walked to the plastic bags and carefully untied one of them. She gently searched inside and picked out a few bones. Looking at these bones, her face turned very bad. It's really a person. Call the police. As she said that, Lin Baixian picked up another piece of minced meat casually, with a very solemn expression. Lin Xiao watched from behind, and his back couldn't help but feel cold. Not only because he found the body fragments, but also because he saw Lin Baixian holding a piece of human meat as calmly as a piece of chicken, duck or fish. Second sister is too brave. Fortunately, my original aspiration was changed and I didn't become a male doctor. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to think about it. Otherwise, if I looked at him with such eyes. Thinking of this, Lin Xiao silently lowered his head to look at his crotch and shrank his neck again. About 10 minutes later, the police arrived at the scene. Technicians surveyed the scene, and Lin Xiao and Lin Baixian were also taken aside for questioning. Lin Xiao had just communicated with those stray cats. He described the time of the body dumping and the appearance of the body dumper as detailed as possible. It was 2:30 this morning. The body dumper was about this tall, with a beard, a little fat, and wearing glasses. The police glanced at Lin Xiao suspiciously, wondering why he knew the body dumper so clearly. He immediately asked his men to check the nearby surveillance. Unexpectedly, during the time Lin Xiao said, he really saw someone who was similar to his description. After investigation, that person was indeed someone close to the deceased. How did you know? A stray cat told me. Lin Xiao was blunt. But the police didn't believe it at all. Lin Baixian waved to the police awkwardly, indicating that they should talk to the side. The police nodded silently and walked to a place where no one was nearby. Lin Xiao looked over curiously, only to see Lin Baixian seemed to be explaining something, and pointed to her head from time to time. The police looked half believing and half doubting. After the two came out, the police waved, "Okay, you leave your phone number and identity information, you can wait nearby for a while, and you may need to record a detailed confession later." "No problem." Lin Xiao naturally didn't mind. He walked outside the cordon with Lin Baixian and found a bench in the park to sit down. He then asked curiously, "Second sister, what did you say to the police just now? Why did they let us go so easily? They said you were mentally ill." Lin Xiao pulled the corners of his mouth stiffly. The second sister was as straightforward as ever. The park was full of old men and women exercising during the day, and the discovery of the body parts was quickly spread by them. Some reporters had already started live broadcasts here, competing to report the situation here. Su Xiaomei saw the two familiar figures in the live news broadcast and immediately called Lin Baixian. "Mom, we are fine, we just happened to pass by." "Hey? No need to come." Lin Baixian tried her best to stop them, but within 20 minutes, the Su family's car stopped at the entrance of the park. Not only Su Xiaomei, but also Lin Qingshan and Lin Yu came. Lin Qingshan was still wearing a formal suit, with sweat on his forehead, and it was obvious that he had just rushed over from the company. Seeing that his son and daughter were safe and sound, he was relieved. "Xiao, Baixian, are you scared?" Su Xiaomei sat next to Lin Baixian and grabbed her hand. Lin Xiao couldn't help but complain when he saw this. With the second sister's temperament, it is impossible for her to be scared. However, it is better not to let Su Xiaomei know that Lin Baixian's hands had just grabbed the body parts, otherwise, she might be really scared. "Hey, how unlucky you are to encounter such a thing." Lin Qingshan frowned and looked inside the cordon for a few times. "What kind of murder and dismemberment case is it? Ordinary people may never encounter it in their lifetime, but you actually encountered it." Lin Yu curled his lips and said at the right time, "I heard that there was a mental patient with a knife in the second sister's hospital in the afternoon. There were so many dangerous things in one day. I don't know who is unlucky." As he said, he also glanced at Lin Xiao meaningfully. Lin Xiao retorted, "It's bad luck to meet a mental patient, but it's not a bad thing to find a body. Only by finding the body as soon as possible can we help the police find the real murderer as soon as possible." This righteous remark made Lin Yu very unhappy, and he almost blurted out, "It's good not to be regarded as the real murderer." "Xiao Yu, don't talk nonsense." Lin Qingshan glanced at the nearby reporters who were still broadcasting live, and scolded, "These people love to gossip. If you say this, you will get into big trouble." Lin Yu pouted indifferently, "What's the use of being afraid now? I think the police won't let him go now. I'm afraid they have already regarded him as the main suspect. It's wrong my second sister to be implicated by him." "Xiao Yu." Lin Baixian couldn't stand it anymore. "Second sister, you are too kind. Maybe he is the one who committed the crime," Lin Yu said without any hesitation. Su Xiaomei frowned slightly and glanced at Lin Yu unhappily. Fortunately, the reporters were all focused on the cordon and didn't hear Lin Yu's nonsense. Otherwise, even a short-lived rumor would affect the Lin family to a certain extent. Why didn't she realize before that Lin Yu was so brainless? Just at this moment, Lin Baixian's phone suddenly rang. Looking at the strange number on it, she pressed the answer button. "Lin Baixian, this is Officer Zhang from before. Are you and your brother still in the park?" "Yes, on the bench outside the cordon." "Okay, don't leave yet, I'll find you right away." After hanging up the phone, Lin Yu looked even more amused. Looking at Lin Xiao, he taunted, "Look, the police are coming to arrest you." Chapter 15 apologized to Lin Xiao. Lin Yu's voice was so loud that it still managed to attract the attention of the people around him. The reporters quickly recognized the identities of Lin Qingshan and Su Xiaomei and pointed their mobile phone cameras at them. Those seem to be the chairman and wife of the Lin group. I don't know why they are here too. Was it the young master of the Lin family who just spoke? Could it be that they are also involved in the murder case? For a moment, there was a lot of discussion around. Some brave reporters even came forward and planned to interview people on the street. At this time, several policemen came out from within the cordon. The leader was Officer Zhang, who had just made the call. They first pushed the reporters aside, and then looked at Lin Xiao with a smile. "Lin Xiao, the case has been solved. The murderer is the man you described. My colleagues have already caught him." Officer Zhang was very happy. A dismemberment case of this magnitude is considered a relatively big case for them. It has also been publicized by journalists. In order not to cause panic among the masses, they have prepared themselves mentally to stay up late and work overtime. Unexpectedly, the case was solved in less than an hour. The most crucial thing is the clue provided by Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao, our leader will publicly commend you. Officer Zhang patted Lin Xiao on the shoulder. After saying that, he also praised Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei next to him. You are worthy of being a big entrepreneur in our city. You have educated your children so well. Hey, I don't deserve it. Lin Qingshan changed his previous worry and his face became rosy. He also didn't expect that his own son would bring such great honor to their Lin family on the third day after his return. Once the award is publicly announced, their company's stock will surely see another small rise. Before leaving, Officer Zhang seemed to have thought of something and said to Lin Xiao, "By the way, it doesn't matter if you see the murderer in the future. We will protect the witnesses. There's no need to say that the cat saw it." Good. Lin Xiao curled his lips and agreed reluctantly. It seems that it is not so easy to tell the truth these days. After the police left, Lin Xiao looked at Lin Yu, who was about to leave, and said casually, "It seems someone misunderstood me just now." Lin Yu paused, pretended not to hear, and continued walking forward. "You are already such an adult, you should be responsible for your words. Are you trying to make it look like bullshit?" Lin Xiao's voice was neither loud nor soft, and everyone in the Lin family could hear it clearly. They were not very satisfied with Lin Yu's performance just now, and now seeing that Lin Yu acted as if nothing had happened, they frowned in displeasure. "Xiaoyu, is this what I taught you before?" Lin Qingshan said sternly with a straight face. "Dad, I didn't mean it." Lin Yu was very unhappy, but he didn't dare to contradict him. Su Xiumei also had a heavy look on her face. She didn't understand Lin Yu's recent behavior. Was it because he couldn't adapt to Lin Xiao's arrival, or was it just his nature and they hadn't noticed it before? "Why don't you apologize to Xiao?" Lin Qingshan said coldly. Lin Yu opened his mouth to refute, but seeing that Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei both had serious faces, and even Lin Baixian looked at him with a hint of disappointment, he had no choice but to lower his head. "Sorry." These three short words made Lin Yu feel that his dignity was trampled under Lin Xiao's feet. It made the hatred in his heart even worse. He swore that he would make Lin Xiao pay the price. Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei felt a little sorry when they saw Lin Yu looking defeated. After all, they have been in love for 20 years, and even if Lin Xiao is found back, he does not intend to completely break up with Lin Yu. They still hope that Lin Yu can continue to live with them, and they also hope that there can be a true brotherhood between Lin Yu and Lin Xiao. When going home, they deliberately arranged for Lin Xiao and Lin Yu to ride in the same car. But Lin Xiao refused. "Dad, Mom, I'd better take my second sister's car back," Lin Xiao said lightly. Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei felt that Lin Xiao had just been wronged and might not be able to forgive Lin Yu for the time being, which was understandable, so they did not insist. But who knew that after taking just 2 steps, he heard Lin Xiao's voice. "I don't know what Lin Yu ate, he farted all the way. I don't want to be in the same car with him. It would be unfair if I get sick from the smoke." The Lin couple paused, looked at each other, and a hint of disgust appeared in their eyes. "Well, your mother and I have something to do at the company. Xiaoyu, you can go back by yourself." After saying that, the two of them got in the car and sped away without even waiting for Lin Yu to answer. Lin Yu stood there, bewildered. Lin Xiao had already gotten into Lin Baixuan's car and urged her to hurry up. Lin Baixian naturally heard Lin Xiao's thoughts and chuckled helplessly. He had no intention of taking Lin Yu away with him and drove away. Along the way, Lin Baixian finally accepted the fact that she could hear Lin Xiao's thoughts. The most important thing is that Lin Xiao has been praising her in his heart all the way. Sometimes they say she is beautiful, sometimes they say she has strong professional skills and can remain calm in times of crisis. Even though I may be a bit talkative and annoying, who doesn't he like being praised? After returning home, the two saw an unexpected figure outside the villa. Lin Chu's fiancé, Bai Feng. This eldest son of the Bai family is not the first time to come to the Lin family. But never before has he come without saying hello, like this time. Seeing Lin Baixian, Bai Feng immediately came forward. "Sister Xian, you are finally back." Bai Feng and Lin Baixian had met each other several times before, and they greeted each other familiarly as soon as they met. Lin Baixian seemed to dislike this address, frowned and asked calmly, "Why is Master Bai here?" I couldn't get in touch with Chu Ji, and I was worried that something had happened to her, so. Bai Feng took out his cell phone and the screen showed many messages he had sent, but there was no response from the other end. Lin Baixian glanced at the time and asked in confusion, "Something happened at the overseas branch, and my eldest sister flew over to deal with it this morning." "Why? Didn't she tell you?" Hearing these words, Bai Feng's face suddenly froze, and he shook his head awkwardly, "No." At the same time, he was also very confused. Although his relationship with Lin Chuj was not as close as glue, they had always responded to each other in everything. "In my free time every day, I would send messages and chat. If there are any important arrangements, we will inform you in advance. This is the first time that someone goes abroad without even saying goodbye." Lin Baixian seemed to have noticed something and explained politely, "Eldest sister left in a hurry this time and may not have had time to tell you. She will definitely tell you when she comes back." When Lin Xiao complained about Bai Feng as a scumbag, Lin Baixian was not at home, so she was not clear about the current situation between Lin Chuj and Bai Feng. At this time, a taxi stopped nearby. Lin Yu also came back. He also heard some of their conversation just now, and an idea suddenly came to his mind. Chapter 16 Trouble is Coming. "Brother Feng, wait a minute, I have something to tell you." When Bai Feng was about to leave, Lin Yu walked up and pulled him aside. "What's wrong?" Bai Feng and Lin Yu have a good relationship. Especially before, in order to successfully pursue Lin Chuj, Bai Feng had given Lin Yu a lot of benefits. Seeing Lin Yu's mysterious look, Bai Feng became a little curious. "Brother Feng, has my elder sister been very cold to you recently?" Lin Yu went straight to the point. Seeing Bai Feng nodded hesitantly, he continued, "Did you see the boy with my second sister just now? It's all because of him." "What?" Bai Feng couldn't help but frown. He saw Lin Xiao just now, but Lin Xiao got off Lin Baixuan's car. He thought he was Lin Baixuan's friend, so he didn't pay much attention. Now, when he heard that the boy was actually related to his fiancée, he suddenly felt unhappy. "Hey, Brother Feng, don't think too much, that boy is my biological son that my parents just found in the countryside." Lin Yu knew that it was impossible to keep such a thing a secret forever, so he didn't plan to cover it up. "Is he Chu Ji's biological brother?" Bai Feng's expression eased a little. "Then what did you mean by what you just said?" "Hey, you don't know, that kid has turned the house upside down since he came back. I saw him say something to my eldest sister the other day, and my eldest sister said she didn't want to talk to you anymore." Lin Yu pushed all the blame onto Lin Xiao. He just wanted to frame someone, and he never thought that he was actually right. Bai Feng believed Lin Yu's words without a doubt. He turned around and looked at Lin Xiao, who was about to enter the room, his eyes full of viciousness. Lin Yu lowered his voice and said, "Brother Feng, I know you have a deep relationship with my elder sister. Don't worry, no matter what you need, I will definitely help you." Bai Feng retracted his gaze and narrowed his eyes. "What do you want?" "Hey, Brother Feng still understands me." Lin Yu smiled awkwardly and explained, "They just found their own son, so they don't care about me as much as before. As for pocket money..." Bai Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. "Don't worry, as long as your sister and I get together, you will definitely get the benefits." "Then thank you, Brother Feng." Lin Yu went back happily. When Lin Xiao saw Lin Yu and Bai Feng whispering outside, and then saw Lin Yu coming back in such a happy mood, he knew that the two of them must not have discussed anything good. Most likely he is plotting something against Lin Chuj again. I just hope Lin Chuj's love brain won't grow again. Soon after, school started. Lin Xiao had already greeted the counselor, Mr. Li, and said that he would go back to attend classes this semester. Unfortunately, on the first day of school, Lin's company happened to have a very important meeting. As senior executives of the company, Lin Qingshan, Su Xiumei and Lin Chuj simply couldn't leave. This made Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei regret for a long time that they could not send their own son to school. As compensation, he transferred a large sum of money to Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao still accepted everyone who came to him. Anyway, the Lin family would go bankrupt soon, so it would not hurt for him to save some more money to support himself. In the end, only Lin Baixian, who was still on vacation, was responsible for sending Lin Xiao to school. After all, it is college, and Lin Xiao doesn't want to be like a child and have his sister accompany him wherever he goes. After simply settling everything down, Lin Baixian was allowed to leave. But what he didn't expect was that before he could pack up his things in the dormitory, trouble came knocking on his door. Lin Xiao. Come out. The man who came was a tall and strong boy. He just stood at the door of the dormitory and hooked his finger at Lin Xiao without any hesitation. Lin Xiao thought about it for a long time and found that he didn't know this person at all, so he asked calmly, "What do you want from me?" "Just come out when I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" The boy said coldly, his knuckles cracking. "Don't force the brothers to go in and drag you in." Lin Xiao realized that the person who came was not friendly, so he looked up at the camera in the dormitory and walked out. As soon as he went out, the boy hugged his shoulders tightly. Only then did Lin Xiao notice that behind that boy, there were a number of other boys with equally strong physiques. They looked at themselves with malicious smiles. After a brief thought, Lin Xiao guessed something. But he still asked calmly, "I don't seem to know you. If you have anything to say, just tell me." "It doesn't matter if you don't know me, I'll know you in a little while." The boy smiled sinisterly and dragged Lin Xiao downstairs. Lin Xiao did not resist and just followed them all their way to the grove behind the dormitory. Perhaps because boys often link arms like this, people passing by did not notice anything unusual. There were fewer and fewer people around them, and finally they were the only ones left in the woods. These boys no longer concealed their feelings and pushed Lin Xiao aside. "Boy, don't blame us. You can only blame yourself for offending someone you shouldn't have offended." The leading boy chuckled and stepped forward to push Lin Xiao's shoulder. But as soon as he raised his hand, Lin Xiao grabbed his wrist. He wanted to break free, but found that Lin Xiao's hand was like an iron clamp and could not be moved at all. Seeing this, others immediately stepped forward to help. Before they could get close, Lin Xiao twisted the boy's hands hard, and they were placed behind his back at a strange angle. At the same time, a scream was heard. "If you take one more step forward, his hand will be disabled," Lin Xiao said in a calm tone. Don't move." The boy grimaced in pain, with beads of sweat the size of beans dripping from his forehead. He begged for mercy immediately. "Yes, I'm sorry, we are just taking money to help others get rid of disasters, there is no need to make such a big fuss." "Oh." Lin Xiao waved his hand and pushed the boy out. He clapped his hands casually and turned away. "Open your eyes in the future, don't make yourself disabled for a little money." In fact, the system in his mind had already reminded him that Bai Feng would find someone to cause trouble for him. But I didn't he expect that with Mr. Bai's ability, he only found a few thugs in the school. "You're looking down on him too much," Lin Xiao sneered. But at this moment, he suddenly felt a gust of wind in his ears. He turned his body subconsciously, and a switchblade flashing with a cold light just passed by him. The man holding the knife was an inconspicuous boy who looked a little thin among the burly people. There was a vicious look in the boy's eyes and a sneer on the corner of his mouth. That temperament is completely different from others. Only then did Lin Xiao realize that he had underestimated the enemy. Bai Feng is not as stupid as imagined. Instead, he is a little smart. If a person who really knows how to kill is hidden among a group of school bullies, even if something happens, he can easily become invisible. Chapter 17, Confusion of Right and Wrong. The man didn't seem to expect that Lin Xiao could dodge such an attack, and he stood there in a daze for a moment. Lin Xiao took advantage of these few seconds and kicked the man in the stomach. His force was so strong that the man took several steps back and held his stomach, unable to move for a long time. The boy from before was obviously still unwilling to give in. With so many of them, how could they be defeated by just one person? What's more, they have taken the money, and if things are not done well, they might offend the young master. At the command, everyone rushed over. "Oh, you're looking for death?" Lin Xiao snorted coldly, a hint of sarcasm flashing in his eyes. He first knocked down the first person who rushed over with one punch, then grabbed the arm of the person behind him and smashed him hard against the tree next to him. Then the third, the fourth. In less than 5 minutes, he knocked everyone down effortlessly. But these 5 minutes are not his limit, but the limit of these people. If the fight continues, I'm afraid he will be seriously injured if not killed. The movement in the grove eventually attracted the attention of people outside. In school, group fights are a big deal. Someone quickly notified the security guards, and then the school leaders. Not long after Lin Baishen drove away from University A, she received a call from Counselor Lin Xiao. "Hello, are you Lin Xiao's parent? Can you come to school?" The voice on the other end of the phone sounded anxious. Lin Baishen didn't know what was going on. After responding, she immediately turned around and walked back. Office of the Sports College of University A. Lin Xiao and his counselor Li Xiao were standing in the office, while the people he had just beaten were sitting on the sofa. Lin Xiao has explained the matter to Li Xiao. Li Xiao is very dissatisfied, but the leader of their college is out for a meeting and will not be back until next week. Now she is the only one who can come forward and be responsible for negotiating with the leaders of the Sports Institute. Fighting in school. What a shame. The director of the Sports Institute is a middle-aged man with a big belly. If you just look at the body shape, it has nothing to do with sports and exercise. Director Sun, I don't think this is a gang fight, but my students are being bullied unilaterally. Li Xiaoli said without showing any weakness. Hey, Mr. Li, look at what your students have done to my students? You call this bullying? Who is bullying whom? Director Sun walked up to Li Xiaoli and spoke condescendingly. Li Xiaoli is a typical southern girl with a petite figure. He just graduated from school the year before last and came here to work as a counselor. He is much younger than Director Sun, who is over 40 years old. But she still stood in front of Lin Xiao, not backing down at all, and argued, Director Sun, you can't confuse right and wrong just because your group of idiot students suffered at the hands of my students. Several people came to cause trouble for my students, obviously looking to bully them. At this time, there was a knock on the door. I saw Lin Yu standing outside, poking his head in. As soon as he saw Lin Yu, Director Sun showed a flattering smile. Student Lin Yu, why are you here? How is your father these days? My dad is fine. Lin Yu smiled and nodded to Director Sun, then turned to look at Lin Xiao with a meaningful look in his eyes. Director Sun, I heard that you found the people who were fighting just now, so I came here to take a look. Oh? You know there was a fight. Director Sun immediately grasped the key point of Lin Yu's words. Yes, I saw it when I passed by the grove just now, but there were too many people there, and I was afraid of being implicated, so I didn't stop it. Lin Yu nodded silently. Li Xiaoli doesn't know Lin Yu. When he heard there was an eyewitness, he felt like he had grabbed a life-saving straw and asked anxiously, Student, did you see clearly what happened at that time? Lin Yu pretended to think for a while, then pointed at Lin Xiao and said, It was him. I saw him bullying other students by relying on his good skills and some kung fu. At that time, other students begged for mercy, but he still didn't stop. In an instant, Li Xiaoli's face turned ugly. No, classmate, did you really see it clearly? Li Xiaoli asked unwillingly. I can guarantee that I saw it very clearly. Lin Yu said this in a serious tone. Director Sun's smile suddenly widened. Teacher Li, are you satisfied now? Now that we have witnesses, your students should be responsible for their actions. Li Xiaoli didn't know why things turned out like this. One person actively bullies a dozen people. This is outrageous no matter how you think about it. I'm just a counselor. This matter still needs to be reported to the director of our college for a decision. Li Xiaoli knew that she would not get any benefit here today, so she thought about delaying the matter. Unexpectedly, Director Sun said reluctantly, That won't do. Look, my students are injured. Either you give my students an explanation today, or I will call the police. Li Xiaoli was worried that calling the police would have a negative impact on Lin Xiao, so she had to continue asking, So what do you want? It's simple. Report it and get fired. Director Sun glanced at Lin Xiao coldly. Students like this who beat people up indiscriminately don't deserve to stay in our school. Li Xiaoli never expected that Director Sun would actually want to kick Lin Xiao out of the school directly. At this moment, she finally realized that there seemed to be something wrong with the people present. Not to mention that the incident itself was outrageous. Even Director Sun's attitude and the sudden appearance of the witness Lin Yu were very abnormal. Did Lin Xiao offend someone? No, she couldn't let Director Sun handle this matter, she had to report it to her leader. A good student must not be bullied like this. Thinking of this, she decided to call directly. But at this moment, Lin Xiao, who had been silent all the time, suddenly spoke up, Director Sun, are you serious? What? Director Sun was stunned. I mean, are you serious when you say that students who hit others indiscriminately don't deserve to stay in our school? Lin Xiao blinked, his face full of sincerity. Of course it's true. I will never tolerate such an unstable factor staying on campus and threatening the personal safety of other students. Director Sun spoke with great righteousness. If the occasion wasn't inappropriate, Lin Xiao would have wanted to applaud. Well said. If that's the case, director son, you can take care of it. Lin Xiao took out his cell phone from his chest pocket and said with a smile, fortunately, I recorded the whole process. I must help director son to eliminate the dangerous elements in the school. Chapter 18. It's not an auditory hallucination. When they heard Lin Xiao's words, everyone present changed their expressions. When the dozen or so people who were beaten saw Lin Xiao's cell phone, their faces turned pale. Director Sun and Lin Yu's faces turned pale and blue. Only Li Xiaoli's eyes lit up with excitement. Lin Xiao. Did you record it? Lin Xiao nodded and clicked on the most recent video. The scene begins with the tall boy standing at the dormitory door calling him. It turned out that at that time, Lin Xiao realized that things were not simple, so he secretly turned on the video on his mobile phone and hid it in his chest pocket. There is no need to say more about what happened afterwards. When I heard the boy say taking money to help others get rid of disasters, the nature of this incident was clear. Bullying classmates, or bullying with benefits from others. The nature is very bad. Director Sun opened his mouth but couldn't utter a word for a long time. Fake. This video must be fake. Lin Yu blurted out. TSK, how about you listen more carefully? Lin Xiao dragged the video to a time point and amplified the sound. In the background, there was the obvious sound of the school radio. Accurately reports today's date, day of the week, and even the weather. By the way, Director Sun, did you just say you were going to call the police? I think Lin Yu's suspicion is very serious. How about asking the police to check and see if the records left by the school broadcasting department are the same as what I recorded in the video? Lin Xiao's tone was still very sincere, as if he was thinking about everyone. Director Sun was about to collapse. He could never have imagined that this guy would actually record the entire process. Hey, there's no need to call the police. I can just arrange for a student from the broadcasting department to take a look. Besides, no matter who caused trouble first, you're fine now, aren't you? Instead, it was my students who got hurt. I think both sides should take a step back and apologize to each other. Lin Xiao didn't expect that Director Sun could be so shameless. Just now he was almost forced to be expelled from school, and now it's about mutual apologies. At this time, there was another burst of hurried footsteps coming from the door. Lin Baixian is here. Second sister. Lin Yu looked at Lin Baixian in surprise, wondering how she ended up in this place. Director Sun thought that Lin Xiao's family had come and was a little nervous. When he heard that it was Lin Yu's sister, he breathed a sigh of relief. With a flattering smile on his face again, he walked forward and said politely, it turns out to be the second young lady of the Lin family. Hello. Li Xiaoli looked at Lin Baixian with suspicion. If she remembered correctly, this woman had just taken Lin Xiao to complete the admission procedures about half an hour ago. It was also she who called this woman and told her that something had happened to Lin Xiao. How come she has become the sister of this eyewitness now? Could it be that? Second sister. Lin Xiao also shouted. Director Sun's body stiffened and he turned to look over in surprise. Then Lin Xiao walked up to Lin Baixian with a normal look on his face, and said with a wronged look on his face, Second sister, someone has been causing trouble for me since you left. Having said that, before anyone else could speak, he brought the video to Lin Baixian. The recording of this video was stopped later, which means that all the threats from Director Sun and Lin Yu's sudden appearance and nonsense were recorded. Lin Baixian's expression also changed. He first glared at Lin Yu coldly, then said to Director Sun in a cold voice, now that the truth has come out, I wonder how you plan to deal with it. Second sister, Director Sun just said that we should apologize to each other and then forget about this matter. Lin Xiao looked harmless. Sure enough, Lin Baixian's brows furrowed even deeper. If Director Sun doesn't know how to handle this matter, why not just do as my brother said and call the police directly? Lin Baixian said expressionlessly. No. Director Sun panicked. Among those school bullies, there are one or two who have good family backgrounds. He originally wanted to please the Lin family, but he didn't expect to hit a wall. He still doesn't know what the relationship between Lin Xiao and Lin Yu is. I just knew that if I called the police and the matter became a big deal, other school leaders would also see the video. By then, he will be in big trouble. How about this, I'll ask them to apologize. Director Sun winked at those people while speaking. Those people naturally knew that they could not afford to offend the Lin family, so they immediately lowered their heads. They lined up and bowed to Lin Xiao one by one to apologize. He also promised that whenever he saw Lin Xiao at school in the future, he would respectfully call him Brother Xiao. After some discussion with Director Sun, he compensated Lin Xiao a total of 500,000 yuan. Of course, a large part of it was paid by Director Sun. He just wanted to keep the peace. As long as he could keep his job, he could just take this little bit of money. Lin Xiao was too lazy to argue with them and left happily after taking the money. Walking in the school, Lin Yu kept explaining to Lin Baixian. Second sister, listen to me. I was threatened by them. They said that if I didn't testify for them, I would be the next one to be bullied. Second sister, everything I said is true. Lin Yu talked all the way, but Lin Baixian ignored him. In fact, Lin Baixian was also very conflicted. She didn't know whether she should believe Lin Yu. Lin Yu was very cute, smart and obedient when he was young. She really couldn't understand why she had become like this. Suddenly, she heard Lin Xiao's voice again. Hey, you're still pretending. These people were obviously bought by phone after being instigated by Lin Yu that day. If you say Lin Yu doesn't know, I won't believe it even if I die. White Maple. How come you are involved with your eldest sister's fiancé again? Lin Baixian was stunned. After resting at home for a few days, she became more and more certain that she was not mentally ill and could indeed hear Lin Xiao's thoughts. However, in order to verify this, she still planned to investigate it carefully. She asked Lin Xiao and Lin Yu to go back to class first, and she returned to the office building where she had just been. After a while, the dozen or so students from before came out. The leading boy was still on the phone, looking very upset. Lin Baixian followed them all their way to the outside of the school. I actually saw Baifeng's car parked on the side of the road. Several boys were standing next to the car and seemed to be arguing with Baifeng. After a while, several wads of money were thrown out of the car and then it drove away. Lin Baixian suddenly became extremely excited. She really is not mentally ill, and the voices she heard were not hallucinations. This is a medical miracle. No, she must study Lin Xiao thoroughly. Chapter 19, Attract. Thunder. Secret. After Lin Xiao entered school, he began his life in a routine manner. I go to class, eat melons and have a relaxing time every day. He also chose some elective courses according to his preferences. One of the courses was about appreciation of domestic and foreign literature, which interested him very much. The classroom is in the library and the atmosphere is very good. But what he didn't expect was that when he came to class for the first time, he actually saw Lin Yu. Lin Yu is a person who usually doesn't even bring textbooks to class, so it's really unbelievable that he would appear here. Soon, Lin Xiao discovered the clue. Lin Yu was seen leaning next to a beautiful girl in a white dress, talking incessantly. But the girl didn't seem interested at all, and her slightly furrowed brows showed her impatience at the moment. After a while, a few more girls came in. The girl in the white dress waved to them immediately as if she had seen a savior. When those girls passed by, Lin Yu had no choice but to make way. But he still seemed unwilling to give up and sat directly in the row behind the girl in the white dress. Lin Xiao also found a quiet corner and sat down. After a while, a male professor in his 40s walked in. After looking around, the professor smiled and said, "You may have heard that I will hold a reading club after this course, so I hope that students will not be too unfamiliar with each other. In this first class, let everyone introduce themselves." The professor pointed to one side, "Start here." Soon, the students stood up one by one and made brief introductions. When it was Lin Yu's turn, Lin Yu raised his hand and waved, "My name is Lin Yu, yes, the Lin from the Lin Group. Those buildings in the commercial district are all mine." This unique way of introduction immediately attracted everyone's attention. Many people couldn't help but start talking quietly. "Oh my god, this is too high profile. He is the young master of the Lin Group, so it is normal for him to be high profile. But this is a school, why are you pretending?" Faced with these remarks, Lin Yu was not angry at all. He winked at the lackeys beside him and said with a smile, "I have prepared a welcome gift for everyone today." As soon as these words were spoken, most of the negative comments just now disappeared. What else do they have to worry about if they can get gifts for free? It doesn't seem like it's a bad thing that this young master likes to pretend. There were even some girls who were attracted by Lin Yu's generous behavior. Wow, is this the charm of superpowers? All the gift boxes were distributed, and the gift for the girl in the white dress was given by Lin Yu himself. He seemed to be well prepared and even practiced a magic trick. He made some mysterious gestures towards the girl in the white dress, and then conjured up a rose. The people around started to make a noise. Oh, isn't that the famous iceberg beauty from the art department? The young master of the Lin family and the beauty of the school are a good match. I just don't know if this iceberg will melt. But the girls who were being watched remained expressionless. No one noticed that her hands under the table were clenched tightly, as if she was enduring something. The girl next to her seemed to be urging her to take the rose. Her face became even more rigid. At this moment, an incongruous voice suddenly came from the corner of the classroom. Whispering sound. The sound was not loud, but it seemed very abrupt as the booing around them just stopped. Everyone looked over and saw Lin Xiao sitting in the corner, looking at Lin Yu with disdain. You're performing such a tacky magic trick, do you like to do something awkward? Lin Xiao mocked without any hesitation. Lin Yu was furious, but he couldn't curse too harshly in front of so many people. Then he asked provocatively, then why don't you give us a non-awkward performance? I thought Lin Xiao would give in. After all, he was here to attend class, and everyone was as prepared as he was. Unexpectedly, Lin Xiao actually stood up and nodded generously. Okay, I'll show you a non-awkward performance right now. After saying that, he glanced at the time calmly and counted down silently in his mind, as if he was waiting for something. More than 10 seconds passed and he still didn't move. Seeing this, Lin Yu laughed and said, Lin Xiao, you are not going to perform, wasting our minutes. Lin Yu's other brothers also started laughing. I think he doesn't know how to do anything. He is just trying to be awesome. That's right. Look, he has nothing in his hand. Can he create something out of thin air? After about 2 minutes, the other students also became a little impatient. Just as the professor was about to say something to persuade him, Lin Xiao suddenly raised his head. Be quiet. After a scolding, Lin Xiao clasped his hands together and pointed one finger to the sky. He shouted loudly to the sky, attract. Thunder. Technique. Such a childish action and performance left everyone stunned. But before they could burst into laughter, a loud boom was heard outside. A bolt of lightning really struck. For a moment, everyone was stunned. It was sunny outside just now, why did it suddenly thunder? Lin Xiao pointed again, chop it for me. Boom. This time, the sound of thunder was even louder. Even the ground began to shake, and the chandelier above was swaying. What on earth is going on? Could it be an earthquake? It seems like this place was really struck by lightning. The students were all panicked. Not only that, there was also a lot of noise outside. It's on fire. The attic is on fire. Put it out. Soon, a librarian pushed the door open and shouted, get out of here quickly, the top floor was struck by lightning and is on fire. All the students quickly stood up and ran outside. Lin Xiao also followed behind everyone, and didn't seem to be very panicked. After a while, everyone was evacuated. Everyone looked up at the burnt roof of the library and was shocked. There was a lightning rod, but it was still struck like this. How powerful must the lightning be? At this moment, someone suddenly saw Lin Xiao. It's him? He's the one who brought down the lightning. Yes, I just saw it too. Soon, Lin Xiao's deed spread from one person to another, and almost everyone knew about it. Lin Xiao looked at their reactions and didn't know what to say for a moment. No. He was just performing a small show, these people wouldn't really believe it, right? Chapter 20 Believe in Science. Lin Xiao didn't expect that these people couldn't take a joke. This is not some fantasy world, how could they really believe that he was the one who brought down the lightning? This is outrageous. Soon, the news about Lin Xiao attracting lightning reached the teacher in charge. As expected, Lin Xiao was called to the school as a parent again. Lin Baishuan's annual leave had already ended, and she was about to go to work today. Unexpectedly, I received another call from the school. When she heard that Lin Xiao was in trouble, she was completely overwhelmed. If she had known this guy was so troublesome, she would not have been the contact. Wait a minute, are you saying that I asked my brother to attract lightning and blow up the library? Lin Baishan sat in the school office, suspecting that these people were joking with her. Well, according to the rumors from the students at the scene, this is the case. Of course, we won't make any rash judgments and will definitely verify it first. A middle-aged woman wearing glasses and old-fashioned clothes said seriously. She is the director of the library of University A and the person in charge here. Verify. Lin Xiao was even more surprised. Does this kind of thing need to be verified? Is verification necessary? Lin Xiao complained in her heart but still had a smile on her face. Don't worry, if it wasn't Lin Xiao who did it, we will definitely not wrongly accuse him. The curator still looked serious. Lin Xiao looked at Lin Xiao who was standing beside her and asked expressionlessly, Lin Xiao, then tell me what is going on. It's just a coincidence. Lin Xiao smiled awkwardly. At this time, Lin Xiao heard Lin Xiao's thoughts. Oh my god, I just wanted to show off, I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Isn't it just that I knew in advance that the library would be struck by lightning, so I made a few random gestures. If I had known this would happen, I would not have made such a splash. Fortunately, only the rooftop was burned and no one was injured, otherwise it would be hard to explain. I see. After learning the truth, Lin Xiao slowly breathed a sigh of relief. She knew that the world was not so crazy. Although Lin Xiao can predict the future, although she can hear Lin Xiao's inner voice. If she really knew that Lin Xiao could call the wind and rain, she would probably collapse completely as she had always believed in science. There were several eyewitnesses in the office. Lin Yu was also inside. He came out at the right time and said to Lin Xiao, second sister, this is actually not a big deal. Anyway, Dad has recently been planning to donate to our school. Wouldn't it be nice to have him donate a new library? When the curator heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. Just now she learned the identity of the woman in front of her, who was the second daughter of the Lin family. If there is an opportunity to raise donations, it will be a good thing for the school and she won't have to bear too much responsibility. In fact, there is no need to rebuild it. The workload is too large. There is no problem with the lower floors of the existing library. We only need to renovate the upper floors. The curator said with a smile. Lin Xiao nodded silently. The Lin family is not short of this point. If it can make up for the impression that Lin Xiao has left in the minds of these classmates and teachers, it would be a good thing. But at this moment, she heard Lin Xiao's voice again. Hey, there is nothing wrong with the Lin family helping to repair the library, but the idiot Lin Yu played tricks on them. In order to save costs and make money, he built a shoddy project. It collapsed soon after the repair was completed, and people were killed. At that time, my parents, who were originally known as philanthropists, would also become the target of public criticism and be insulted by the entire network, making the already precarious situation of the Lin family even worse. My poor dad was hit by the car driven by the deceased's family and became disabled. How tragic. Hearing this, Lin Xiao's pupils suddenly contracted. She just wanted to call Lin Yu's father to finalize the repairs immediately. Now it seems that this matter may require further consideration. After leaving the office, Lin Yu couldn't help but complain to Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao, you said that the lightning you caused was so scary. It caused my dad to have to pay a large sum of money. Lin Xiao chuckled, what era is this now? Can you stop believing in feudal superstitions? If I really knew how to attract lightning, you would have been struck to death by me long ago. You? Lin Yu was so angry that his chest felt suffocated. You have to believe in science, understand? Lin Xiao gave Lin Yu a disdainful look. But he soon discovered that Lin Yu was not the only one who believed in feudal superstition. On their way out of school, the classmates around him looked at him strangely, with curiosity and a little weirdness. Lin Xiao held his forehead helplessly. It seemed that this matter could not be explained clearly in a short time. Today happened to be Friday, and Lin Xiao and Lin Yu returned home with Lin Xiao. After returning home, Lin Xiao collapsed on the sofa and let Lin Yu tell his parents what happened today in a vivid and exaggerated manner. Lin Yu originally wanted them to blame Lin Xiao for causing trouble for the Lin family. Unexpectedly, Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei did not blame him at all. Instead, they found this matter very interesting. Har har, you mean, our Lin Xiao has become the god of thunder in school now? Interesting. Lin Xiao sat aside and didn't say much. Lin Xiao's thoughts just now were still in her mind. Soon, Lin Yu turned the topic to helping the school repair the library. Dad, Mom, the rumors in school right now are particularly bad for Lin Xiao. It would be bad if they affect the company in the future. Helping to repair the library can also be regarded as an apology to the school on behalf of Lin Xiao. Such a hint was like throwing dirty water directly onto Lin Xiao. Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei did not notice the instigation in Lin Yu's words. They have always liked to do charity work. Since this matter is related to their son, it is not a big deal to repair the library for the school. Seeing them agree on the spot, Lin Baixian wanted to speak up to stop them, but after hesitating for a moment, she said nothing. This matter involves too many things, and she cannot confirm whether Lin Xiao's words are true or false. It would be bad if Lin Yu was wrongly blamed. But if it was true, she would never let Lin Yu destroy the Lin family. The family sat at the table during dinner. Lin Xiao was already hungry, and planned to eat a hearty meal as soon as he sat down. But just as he was about to put the soup into his mouth, he suddenly stopped. No way. He muttered something to himself. What's wrong? Su Xiumei said with concern, if you don't like it, ask Aunt Liu to make another bowl of soup. Lin Xiao shook his head, looked at the bowl of soup, and said calmly, Dad, Mom, you'd better not eat this meal today. Chapter 21 Gutter Oil. What's wrong? Everyone else was startled by Lin Xiao's words and put down their chopsticks temporarily. Today's meal is very sumptuous, with a large table full of meat and vegetables, and fragrant soup. It is the result of Nanny Aunt Liu's busy day. Most of them are Lin Yu's favorite foods. Hearing Lin Xiao's words, Lin Yu immediately became unhappy. Lin Xiao, what do you mean? Aunt Liu worked so hard to make it for the whole afternoon. It's fine if you don't want to eat it yourself, but why don't you let my parents and sister eat it? I didn't stop you. Lin Xiao rolled his eyes at Lin Yu. You want to stop me, but can you? Lin Yu snorted coldly, as if deliberately going against Lin Xiao, and scooped a large spoonful of soup and put it directly into his mouth. After drinking it, he smacked his lips. Lin Xiao just smiled and said nothing. At this time, all the members of the Lin family, except Lin Yu, heard Lin Xiao's thoughts. It's so funny, the food is all gutter oil, and you actually taste it. Aunt Liu had secretly sold all the imported oils at home and replaced them with gutter oil. She thought our family would not go into the kitchen, so she did not even try to hide it and just put it in the cabinet under the stove. TSK, I didn't find it before, and this time I bought even lower quality ones, with duck neck sediment in them. Upon hearing this, their faces all changed. The delicious food in front of me now became hard to swallow. Only Lin Yu ate heartily without noticing anything unusual. When he found that others were not eating, he kindly advised, Dad, Mom, second sister, don't listen to him making a fuss. The family is just having a good meal, but he is the only one making trouble. Aunt Liu had worked for the Lin family for 2 years. Although the Lins were still willing to trust her, they still didn't dare to take the risk. Looking back, the meals during this period seemed to be quite different from before. The taste has some weird aroma. They subconsciously thought that this was because Aunt Liu was a good cook and didn't think about anything else. If there is something wrong with the oil, wouldn't they? In short, I'm afraid none of them will be able to eat before they find out the truth and leave. I'll get a small bowl. Lin Baixian made an excuse and walked towards the kitchen. At this time, Aunt Liu was playing with her mobile phone in the corner of the kitchen and didn't notice anyone walking by. He didn't even notice that anyone was approaching the stove. After a while, under the expectant gaze of the Lin couple, Lin Baixian came back with a grim look on her face. Holding a bucket of golden oil in his hand, he asked calmly, Dad, Mom, the oil you asked someone to buy from abroad before shouldn't be like this, right? There was no label on the outer packaging of the oil, and the barrel was also crudely made of very thin plastic. On top of that, the oil seemed to have some black sediment in it. At this point, no matter how stupid everyone was, they realized that something was wrong. Su Xiumei was so angry that she was shaking and threw her chopsticks on the table. Aunt Liu. Madam, what's wrong? When Aunt Liu heard the noise, she hurried out. When she saw the bucket of oil on the table, her face turned pale instantly. This. Aunt Liu was so scared that she sat down on the ground and didn't say anything for a long time. What on earth is going on? Lin Qingshan was also angry. Aunt Liu knew that she could not hide the truth, so she confessed it tremblingly. It was similar to what Lin Xiao had thought before. Aunt Liu accidentally learned the prices of imported oils and became greedy. She secretly sold the oil at a price slightly below the market price, and then went to some shady places in the market to buy the gutter oil. To put it bluntly, these oils are the inferior ones even among gutter oils. Those unscrupulous merchants also gave her some large bags of seasonings, saying that as long as she added these seasonings to the food, she would be able to suppress the bad taste of the gutter oil itself and make the food taste better. Aunt Liu was tempted by the huge benefits. In this way, she bought several barrels in a row. The bucket on the table at this moment is the last bucket and the worst quality. Even the filtration is cut corners, resulting in a lot of sediment in it. Fortunately, this bucket was just opened today and was only used to make this meal. No one in the family got to eat these except Lin Yu. When Aunt Liu was halfway through her confession, Lin Yu couldn't hold it in any longer and ran to vomit. While vomiting, he held his throat tightly, wishing he could vomit out everything in his stomach. After returning, he kicked Aunt Liu to the ground and said angrily, "Our family has never treated you unfairly. How can you, an old woman, be so vicious? I will beat you to death." As he said this, he continued to punch and kick. In the end, it was Su Xiumei who stopped Lin Yu from continuing to fight. Considering the friendship of the past 2 years, Su Xiumei did not send Aunt Liu to the police station. He just asked her to pay a large sum of money and get out of the Lin family. The food on the table had been thrown away by other servants, but everyone was still sitting at the table, staring at each other. They were really disgusted, hungry and nauseous, and they didn't know what to do for a moment. "Why don't we go out to eat?" Lin Yu touched his flat stomach and suggested. "Or you can order takeout. I know a very clean spicy crayfish restaurant." Lin Xiao expressed a different opinion. Lin Yu rolled his eyes at Lin Xiao and said disdainfully, "How clean can takeout be? Isn't it gutter oil?" Lin Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly and did not comment. Without asking for other people's opinions, he took out his phone and placed the order. Lin Qingshan sighed softly, "You guys can eat whatever you want. Your mother and I won't eat for now." As he spoke, he and Su Xiumei stood up, went to the living room, and started eating the fruit on the table. Lin Baixian lost her appetite and returned to her room upstairs silently. Lin Yu left home on his own, thinking that he would go to the 5-star hotel to pack some food and bring it back, which would hopefully win the favor of his parents and sister. Lin Xiao was waiting for his takeaway. After a while, 2 large bags of takeout arrived. Lin Xiao smelled the aroma of the crayfish and happily started eating at the dining table. "I used to work in this store. The crayfish here are carefully prepared from the beginning to the end. The kitchen is very clean and the oil used is from famous brands. Although it is a bit more expensive, it is safer. Oh yeah, it tastes good too." I heard Lin Xiao's thoughts and saw how happily he was eating. Finally, the Lin couple also began to swallow their saliva. Chapter 22, Arousing Public Outrage. The living environment that the Lin couple grew up in seldom gave them the opportunity to eat street food. They were also very curious about this fragrant and spicy taste. Finally, Lin Qingshan couldn't bear it anymore. The fruit he had just eaten not only failed to fill him up, but made him even hungrier. Looking at Lin Xiao, he asked in a low voice, Xiao, are these enough for you? If not, Daddy will order some more for you." "I ordered for servings." Lin Xiao raised his eyebrows and smiled. Lin Qingshan was stunned for a moment, then he smiled and exchanged glances with Su Xiumei, feeling relieved but a little embarrassed. "It seems that my son is really considerate." This also made them feel less awkward, so they sat down at the table and started eating with Lin Xiao. Su Xiumei took the gloves handed to her by Lin Xiao and started to work on it herself. "You know what, the food these young people like to eat really tastes good. Yes, when you hire a cook next time, you can find one who can cook crayfish, so you can eat it at home." Seeing the Lin couple praising each other, Lin Xiao was also very happy. Looking up, I saw Lin Baixian standing at the stairs to the 2nd floor, seeming a little hesitant. Lin Xiao raised the small bowl in his hand and smiled brightly, "Second sister, come quickly, I'll peel it all for you." Lin Baixian was conflicted, but still went downstairs. He said awkwardly, "Since you have peeled it, I will give it a taste." In this way, the 4 of them began to happily eat all the crayfish. When Lin Yu came back, everyone was already full and couldn't eat anything else. "Dad, Mom, I packed some orokai, king crab, and grouper for you." Lin Yu walked in with a happy look on his face, but what he saw was a family of 4 who had eaten and drunk their fill. The servants were cleaning up the crayfish shells in the dining room. Xiaoyu, you're back. We're full. Lin Qingshan was in a good mood and did not notice the change in Lin Yu's expression. The smile on Lin Yu's face froze, and he asked awkwardly, I packed it from the Imperial Hotel. Do you want to eat some more? And my sister's favorite caviar. No, we really can't eat any more. Su Xiumei and Lin Baishan also waved their hands. Lin Yu couldn't hold it anymore. He threw the things to the servant next to him and said coldly, throw them all away. After these words were spoken, everyone present was stunned for a moment. In theory, these things can be put in the refrigerator and eaten tomorrow. If worst comes to worst, the servants haven't eaten yet, so there's no problem giving them food. The servant looked at the good things in his hand and felt a little reluctant, so he asked tentatively, Master, it would be a waste to throw these dishes away. It just so happens that we haven't eaten yet, can you let us eat them? Under normal circumstances, Lin Yu would not bother to argue with the servants, and whoever likes to eat can eat it. But today, he was furious and shouted, don't you understand what I'm saying? I told you to throw it away. Are you beggars? The servant was stunned, pursed his lips tightly, and his eyes were a little red. She was in her 40s or 50s, and was humiliated by someone of the same age as her son. She could not control the grievance and sadness in her heart for a while. Nonsense. Lin Qingshan's good mood was also ruined. He slammed the table and shouted angrily, Lin Yu, why are you so angry? This is what I taught you before. Although the Lin family and the Su family are rich, they are not nouveau riche. So even though Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei grew up with a high standard of living and an acceptable education, they were also taught not to waste food. Now Lin Yu is not only extremely wasteful, but also humiliating the servants, which makes them unbearable. Lin Yu clenched his fists tightly and walked upstairs without saying a word. Go back to the room and slam the door. Su Xiumei sighed softly, walked up to the servant, and said with great guilt, Sister Zhao, I'm really sorry, it's us who didn't teach our son well, I will definitely discipline him well in the future, you can share these things with others, sorry. Don't say that. You and Mr. Lin are both good people. The servant sniffed. A year ago, her son fell ill and needed 1 million yuan for surgery, and Su Xiumei lent it to her without any hesitation. With such a great favor, she naturally wouldn't have any complaints. But in her heart, she was already lamenting the importance of blood ties. Lin Yu's personality is really different from that of the Lin couple. The new young master Lin Xiao is the truly kind member of the Lin family. On Monday, Lin Xiao returned to school. I thought that after 2 days of the weekend, the rumors about him would fade a lot. Unexpectedly, the matter of him attracting thunder faded away, but the news that Lin Yu was going to renovate the school library became a hot topic. The key is that while spreading the news, don't forget to criticize him. The young master of the Lin family is really a good person. He took the initiative to donate money and effort to repair the library. Yeah, it's much better than that chinibya. It's so funny. He's trying to trick people and then let others clean up his mess. But I heard that the middle-aged man with the same disease didn't appreciate it and treated young master Lin very badly. Huh? Why should he? After listening for a while, Lin Xiao realized that the chinibya his classmates were talking about was actually himself. He was clearly the god of thunder in their eyes last Friday, how come he became like this today? At noon, Lin Xiao went to the school cafeteria to eat under the gaze of people around him. Unexpectedly, as soon as he sat down, several people came over and banged on his table. Hey, how dare you come here to eat? I think he's going to point his finger to the sky again soon. Har har, yes, be careful of a lightning bolt that might destroy the restaurant. They sat around Lin Xiao while mocking him. The leader even picked up Lin Xiao's plate and poured it into the trash can next to him. After a provocative laugh, he was about to leave. Lin Xiao said coldly, Hey, I paid for this lunch, aren't you going to compensate me? When these words were spoken, those people laughed exaggeratedly as if they had heard a joke. Har har, you actually want me to pay for it? The leading boy stepped forward and wanted to teach Lin Xiao a lesson. At this moment, he suddenly saw Lin Yu walking not far away, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Master Yu. Lin Yu also saw Lin Xiao, who was surrounded by people. Knowing that Lin Xiao was in trouble, he came to watch the show. The boy grabbed Lin Xiao's arm and said sarcastically, I think you should pay compensation to Master Yu. He used his family's money to clean up your mess. How are you going to pay him back? After saying that, without waiting for Lin Xiao to answer, the boy said with a look of sudden realization. Oh, I forgot, you have no money. But even if you have no money, you should at least show some appreciation. There are so many people here, why don't you kneel down and thank Master Yu? Chapter 23, The Beauty's Invitation. These boys are all Lin Yu's lackeys. They always think of ways to please Lin Yu when they have nothing to do. This time, after learning that Lin Yu didn't like Lin Xiao, he deliberately made things difficult for him. Lin Yu was also happy about this. He just stood aside and watched Lin Xiao being bullied. Lin Yu, you know that some things can't be kept secret for long, right? Lin Xiao looked at Lin Yu indifferently. Lin Yu naturally knew the meaning of Lin Xiao's words, but he didn't care. Anyway, even if others knew that Lin Xiao was the real young master of the Lin family, it wouldn't have much impact on him. As long as he does not leave the Lin family, those who try to please him will continue to do so. The people around were still making a fuss, and some even pushed and shoved, trying to make Lin Yu kneel down. But at this moment, a clear voice sounded beside him. What are you doing? When everyone heard the sound and looked over, they were all slightly stunned. Because the person who was speaking was not someone else, but the beauty in the art department that Lin Yu had pursued before, Zhou Xiaoyan. That was the beautiful girl in the white dress that day. Today she is wearing a black sportswear and her hair is tied back, looking young and beautiful. That face is still very beautiful. She glanced at the people present without any expression, and her eyes finally stopped on Lin Yu. Lin Yu didn't expect Zhou Xiaoyan to appear suddenly, and immediately wanted to change his expression. But Zhou Xiaoyan ignored her and walked straight towards Lin Xiao. Are you okay? Fine. Lin Xiao smiled indifferently. He glanced at the person next to him with the same disdain, and then turned to Lin Yu. Since you are unwilling to explain it clearly to your lackeys, then I have no choice but to say it. At this point, Lin Xiao coughed lightly and said calmly, the person who wants to renovate the library is my dad. I am the biological son of the Lin family, and he can only be considered my parents' adopted son at best. Lin Xiao's lips curled up into a smile, and for the first time he showed his domineering look, and said contemptuously, Lin Yu, your parents kindly left you in the Lin family, not for you to talk nonsense outside. Lin Yu originally didn't intend to keep the matter secret, but he also didn't expect that it would be known to everyone in this way. Lin Xiao has always been timid, so why has he become so arrogant today? This made all the arguments Lin Yu had prepared in advance invalid. Sure enough, Lin Xiao's words stunned everyone present. Those people thought Lin Xiao was crazy at first, but after seeing Lin Yu's reaction, they finally realized that what Lin Xiao said seemed to be true. Lin Xiao stared at Lin Yu and said with a smile, why don't you speak? Lin Yu was a little lacking in confidence. The Lin family has raised me for 20 years, and even the shares of the Lin Corporation have been distributed to me. Do you really think that a country boy like you has a chance to inherit the Lin family? Dream on. After saying that, he turned and left. The followers were unable to judge the current situation for a moment, so they had to follow. In any case, they had benefited a lot from Lin Yu in the past, and Lin Yu had also promised them that he would let them join the Lin group after graduation. Just based on these, they have to continue to follow Lin Yu. After they all left, the restaurant became quiet again. Lin Xiao looked at Zhou Xiaoyan and said sincerely, thank you for your help. I'll treat you to a meal. Zhou Xiaoyan's expression changed slightly, and after hesitating for a moment, she nodded. Lin Xiao asked, what do you want to eat? I thought a pretty girl like Zhou Xiaoyan would have been accustomed to a life of luxury, and Lin Xiao was already prepared to spend a lot of money. But what was unexpected was that she only ordered a meal worth a dozen yuan. Lin Xiao confirmed again and again that Zhou Xiaoyan really only ate these before going to queue up at the window. But when it was his turn, he found that his meal card, which he had kept in his pocket, was missing. The window here cannot accept other payment methods, which made Lin Xiao freeze in place. If he was alone, it would be fine. At worst he would go hungry. But now there is Zhou Xiaoyan, what should he do? Hey, do you want to buy it or not? If not, get out of the way. The people behind are already impatient. When Lin Xiao was trying to move aside awkwardly, a slender white arm reached out in front of him and placed the meal card on the machine. Drop. Lin Xiao looked over and found that it was Zhou Xiaoyan, which made him even more embarrassed. The two of them sat back at the table, and Lin Xiao said embarrassedly, this. I said I'd treat you, but now you're treating me. Zhou Xiaoyan lowered her head and pursed her lips, whispering, it doesn't matter, just consider it as the fee for last visit. Visit fee. Lin Xiao was puzzled. That's your lightning attraction technique. It's so cool. When this matter was mentioned, Qiu Shaoyan's eyes flashed with excitement, but she quickly lowered her head and returned to her previous cold expression. When Lin Xiao saw Qiu Shaoyan's awkward expression, he seemed to understand something. Everyone in the school says Qiu Shaoyan is a nice beauty because she always looks so cold. But now it seems that her personality is not cold at all, and she is even a little hot. She seems to just be socially anxious. After the meal, Lin Xiao promised, I promise to treat you, this time doesn't count. Well, this weekend then. Qiu Shaoyan took the initiative to invite him. Okay, let's contact each other in advance then. Lin Xiao waved his cell phone. Good. Qiu Shaoyan nodded and left alone. Lin Xiao looked at Qiu Shaoyan's back with great interest. He found that Qiu Shaoyan was an interesting girl apart from her appearance. He suddenly felt a little excited about the weekend. After leaving the restaurant, he did not return to the dormitory, but called the police directly. He felt something was wrong just now, and then he suddenly remembered that when those boys asked him to kneel down to Lin Yu, they seemed to have grabbed his pocket. Otherwise, how could his meal card disappear out of thin air? After the police arrived, they immediately checked the surveillance footage and confirmed this. Student Lin, if you only have the meal card, I'm afraid it won't be enough to file a case. That's enough. I have more than 5,000 in my card. What Lin Xiao didn't say was that he had just recharged this money using his mobile phone. Since he has revealed his identity today, his goal is to completely suppress Lin Yu. More than 5,000. Are all kids so rich nowadays? The policeman muttered in surprise and immediately sent someone to find the person involved and the school leaders. After a while, the boy who had bullied Lin Xiao before was brought over. The boy was a little confused when he saw Lin Xiao. But when he heard that Lin Xiao had more than 5,000 yuan in his meal card, his expression suddenly collapsed. Lin Xiao. You deliberately hurt me. Chapter 24 Divination. So what if I intentionally hurt you? I didn't ask you to steal my things. Lin Xiao just smiled and watched the boy being taken away by the police. This time, Lin Yu lost his younger brother and was disliked by the goddess. He will definitely not let it go. But Lin Xiao didn't care. When the enemy comes, we will fight back. When the water comes, we will block it with earth. He wanted to see what other tricks Lin Yu had. After suffering such a huge loss, Lin Yu's first reaction was to go home and complain. But he suddenly realized that those family members who once cared about him the most now seemed unwilling to stand on his side. There was no other choice, so he had to go directly to Baifeng. Baifeng is not at all the modest young man as rumored. On the contrary, he is a real playboy. As one of the few people who knew Baifeng's background, Lin Yu went directly to an underground bar where Baifeng often played without contacting him in advance. When I pushed open the door of the private room, I saw Baifeng hugging a scantily clad woman and drinking happily. Why are you here? Seeing Lin Yu coming to him suddenly, Baifeng seemed a little impatient. Lin Yu sat down next to her, glanced at the woman unhappily, and said unhappily, Brother Feng, you haven't married my sister yet. You play like this every day, aren't you afraid of being discovered by my sister? Baifeng said impatiently, as long as you don't say anything, she won't find out. Did you come here today just to tell me this? Lin Yu was aware of Baifeng's resentment, and did not dare to take advantage of him. He said awkwardly, it's that Lin Xiao again. Not only did he embarrass me in public, he also stole my woman. When Baifeng heard this, he laughed instead. Xiao Yu, you are just young and full of energy. You are just a woman, you can have whatever you want. Why bother to compete with that country bumpkin and lower your status? Lin Yu was choked and couldn't speak for a long time. Xiao Yu, don't worry. After I marry your elder sister, I will have enough time to deal with him slowly. Baifeng patted Lin Yu's shoulder earnestly and said, I'll find a girl to accompany you later. She's definitely 100 times prettier than that woman. Lin Yu knew that the women around Baifeng were all from such places of entertainment. He always thought these women were dirty and not presentable, so he just found an excuse to leave. After leaving the bar, Lin Yu felt even more upset. He found a few brothers and went to a barbecue stall to drink. After 3 rounds of drinks, everyone felt dizzy. He became more and more outspoken in his speech. Brother Yu, I think Lin Xiao is looking for death. If it doesn't work, let's just kill him. That's it. Kill him. It just so happens that my cousin knows some people who can do it cleanly. With the instigation of the people around him, Lin Yu's arrogance also grew fiercely. Thinking of the grievances he had suffered these days, he made the decision on the spot. Okay, kill him. At the beginning of the school year, Lin Xiao did not have much academic pressure. His parents at home always missed him very much, so they asked Lin Baixian to pick him up and take him home for dinner every now and then. That afternoon, Lin Xiao got into Lin Baixian's car again. After this period of contact, they had more topics to talk about. Lin Baixian would show concern for Lin Xiao from time to time, which made Lin Xiao feel warm inside. But in this happy atmosphere, Lin Xiao's expression suddenly changed. He suddenly looked up and forward. At this time, we happened to pass an intersection. The traffic lights here had been broken for some time, so vehicles were basically moving slowly, and there was not much congestion. Suddenly, a car rushed out from the opposite direction at a very fast speed and hit Lin Baixian's car directly. Careful! Lin Xiao had no time to remind him, so he had to reach out and grab the steering wheel. Lin Baixian was so frightened that she just watched Lin Xiao barely turn the car to the side. Although I got scratched, fortunately no one was hurt. Lin Xiao was so angry that he opened the car door and was about to get out to argue with the culprit. But what was unexpected was that the car just stepped on the accelerator and left. Lin Xiao stood in place, and the voice of the system rang in his mind. Hearing what the system said, he became even angrier. Lin Yu, fuck you. You usually play tricks on me, but now you actually want to kill me. Such an angry voice brought Lin Baixian back to her senses from the shock. Was this done by Lin Yu? How is this possible? No matter how dissolute and disobedient Lin Yu is, he would never want to kill someone. Lin Baixian's hands were shaking. I don't know if it was because he survived the disaster or because he was shocked by Lin Xiao's voice. I'll call the police. Lin Baixian got out of the car and took the initiative to speak to Lin Xiao. She didn't want to wrongly accuse a good person, nor did she want to let a bad person go. Calling the police is the best option. Lin Xiao nodded silently and stood there for a long time without saying anything. Now there was something else that was bothering him. As for those minor incidents in the past, he would just watch the fun with the help of the system and was very happy every time. But recently he has encountered more and more dangerous things, and he has gradually realized that if he continues to passively watch the show like this, sooner or later he will be killed by Lin Yu or other people with bad intentions. Hey, system, besides eating melons, don't you have any other functions? Compared to other people's cheat codes, yours is too useless, isn't it? Lin Xiao asked in his mind. Who said there are no other functions? They are all systems, so who has ordered a function? The system's voice seemed a little unsure. After a brief silence, the sound was heard again. Every time you eat melon 50 times, you will get a chance to draw a prize. The prizes are very rich. There are skills such as divination, golden eyes, good luck pills, enhancement pills and other props. Hi, isn't it awesome? The system is very confident. Lin Xiao couldn't help but roll his eyes. No matter how you look at it, this seems to be a new function that was hastily added to the system. But since there is a chance, it is better than nothing. He had already eaten more than 50 times, so he immediately asked the system to draw a lottery. Give me a chance now. Since there are so many good things, don't try to trick me by saying thank you for your patronage. Lin Xiao blocked the system's path in advance to prevent the system from fooling him with junk. The lucky draw begins. Congratulations to their host for obtaining their basic divination technique. Divination? Lin Xiao frowned slightly. Host, if you encounter a situation where you don't eat melons in time in the future, you can do the calculation yourself. After all, I am just a melon-eating system, and I can't predict everything. Why did Lin Xiao feel that the system's voice was full of gossip and a little sour? It doesn't matter. As the system said, some things may not be considered trivial, so the system will not actively remind you. As for matters concerning life and death, the system will always blur the line. Now that he has the art of divination, he has an extra skill. At this moment, Lin Xiao's cell phone suddenly rang. Looking at the name on the screen, a smile appeared on his face. Qiu Xiaoyan, have you decided what to eat this weekend? However, there was only noise on the other end of the line. After a long while, a faint voice was heard. Lin Xiao, save me. Chapter 25, Straight Man Rescue. When Lin Xiao heard Qiu Shaoyan's weak voice on the phone, cold sweat instantly broke out on his back. Where are you? Huayao. Hotel. I'll be right there. After Lin Xiao finished speaking, he wanted to remind Qiu Shaoyan not to hang up the phone, but before he could finish his words, there was another burst of noise on the other end of the phone and the call was hung up. Oh no, I'm afraid Qiu Shaoyan's request for help has been discovered. Second sister, please handle the things here first. I have something to do and I'm leaving first. Lin Xiao said something, hailed a taxi, and left anxiously. Lin Baixian had never seen Lin Xiao so anxious before, and she didn't have time to ask more questions. On their way, the voice of the system came into Lin Xiao's mind. It turns out that it was Lin Yu who did it again. System, your timeliness is getting worse and worse. Lin Xiao couldn't help but complain, if it's any later, it will be the same as not saying anything at all. The system was a little embarrassed and explained patiently. The timeliness of eating melons is closely related to the relationship between the melon owner and the host. If it happens to a family member or the host himself, the public will eat melons earlier. People like Qiu Shaoyan, who have only met their host a few times, may not be so timely sometimes. Lin Xiao couldn't care less about that. When he arrived downstairs at Huayao Hotel, he realized that he didn't know which room Qiu Shaoyan was in. The front desk here obviously wouldn't tell him easily. When he was anxious, he suddenly remembered the divination skill he had just acquired. He concentrated and calmed his mind, and a Bagua pattern appeared in his mind. He quickly threw out the question. Soon, the Bagua pattern began to rotate, as if guiding him. Lin Xiao followed Bagua's instructions, ran all their way upstairs, and finally stopped at the door of a guest room. This should be it. At this moment, he suddenly heard a sound coming from the next room. Why hasn't Brother Yu come yet? Isn't it unsafe for us to lock that girl up in the next room? It will be fine in such a short time. Brother Yu will be back soon after he finishes his work. Lin Xiao thought for a moment and knocked on the door next door. Hello, the takeaway has arrived. Takeout. The person inside seemed a little confused, but he quickly opened the door. While the person was still not able to react, Lin Xiao raised his hand and punched him. Then he squeezed in and quickly knocked down the two people inside. They took out the room cards of the next room from them, then pulled out two data cables from the room, tied them up, and stuffed their mouths. Their whole operation went smoothly. When the two men woke up, Lin Xiao had already left. Moreover, Lin Xiao tied them very tightly, and they couldn't struggle free at all. They could only whimper. This little sound could not attract the attention of people outside. They could only wait to be discovered and could do nothing else. Lin Xiao took the room card and opened the door of the room. As soon as I entered, I saw Qiu Shaoyan lying on the bed. Her hands were tied, her eyes were slightly narrowed, and she was breathing heavily. The whole person looked dazed and a little confused. Was he drugged? No wonder Lin Yu's younger brothers wanted to stay next door instead of here. Lin Xiao first untied the ropes that bound Qiu Shaoyan's hands. But what was unexpected was that as soon as Qiu Shaoyan's hands were freed, she suddenly hugged his neck. Even the whole person pressed against him. Hey, hey, hey. Lin Xiao was startled and stepped back repeatedly. I feel uncomfortable. Qiu Shaoyan looked in pain, with an abnormal flush on her face. Lin Xiao reached out and touched her forehead. It's so hot. As he spoke, he leaned over, picked up Qiu Shaoyan, and walked towards the bathroom. Qiu Shaoyan curled up on Lin Xiao like a little kitten. The little face kept rubbing against Lin Xiao's chest, with her little mouth slightly open, and it seemed that she was about to move closer to Lin Xiao's face again. But Lin Xiao directly put Qiu Shaoyan into the bathtub, and before Qiu Shaoyan could react, cold water was poured directly on her head. Qiu Shaoyan was smart, but under the influence of the drugs, her screams sounded like moans. Lin Xiao is also a normal man, it is impossible for him to say that he has no feelings. But if he takes advantage of the situation now, what's the difference between him and Lin Yu? So he was still very rational, and was thinking about letting the effect of the medicine on Qiu Shaoyan disappear as soon as possible. Qiu Shaoyan was also much more sober than before. Zheng Xufei said that her brain was always conscious and she knew what she was doing, but she just couldn't control her body. Soon, her entire body was submerged in the bathtub. The cold water did make her feel better. She looked up at Lin Xiao with some resentment, her hair was wet and she looked a little disheveled. Are you feeling better? Lin Xiao asked with concern. Qiu Shaoyan seemed to be angry and said unhappily, no. She was now doubting whether she had no charm or Lin Xiao was not a man. It would be fine if he didn't respond to her ambiguity, but how come he doesn't know how to be gentle and considerate to women? Lin Xiao frowned and looked Qiu Shaoyan up and down. As if he suddenly thought of something, he slapped his forehead and said, this medicine has a strong effect on the brain. You hold your breath for a while. Qiu Shaoyan didn't know what Lin Xiao meant, but she nodded subconsciously. Then, Lin Xiao pushed her head into the water. About half an hour later, Qiu Shaoyan was lying on the bed in another room. At this time, the effect of the medicine in her body had completely dissipated. This also made her feel fortunate. Otherwise, she didn't know how that fool Lin Xiao would torture her. Lin Xiao was sitting on the sofa on the other side, holding his cell phone, not knowing what he was doing. Qiu Shaoyan took a deep breath. Lin Xiao, thank you. It's okay. You're welcome. Lin Xiao didn't even raise his head. Qiu Shaoyan suddenly became even more resentful. Looking at Lin Xiao's appearance, she couldn't help but wonder if she had recognized the wrong person. Yes, that day's elective class was not the first time Qiu Shaoyan met Lin Xiao. About 15 years ago, she was only 5 years old. Once when she went to visit relatives in the countryside with her parents, she accidentally fell into the water. Fortunately, he was found and rescued by a little boy who was fishing not far away. She didn't understand why a little boy who looked about the same age as her was so powerful. I don't understand why she kept such a cliché thing in mind for 15 years. She thought she would never have the chance to meet the little boy again, but unexpectedly, she met him again 15 years later. Although I no longer remember what the little boy looked like, I still remember the crescent-shaped birthmark on his arm very clearly. And that birthmark was on Lin Xiao's arm. That day, when Lin Xiao raised his hand to attract lightning, Qiu Shaoyan saw it at a glance. She didn't know whether to be glad. The boy saved her again, but he seemed to have forgotten her long ago. Chapter 26. Watch the show. After falling into memories, Qiu Shaoyan's gaze towards Lin Xiao relaxed a little. It's normal that Lin Xiao's appearance is different from what I expected. After all, 15 years have passed, not to mention that she was still a child at that time. 90% of her impressions over the past 15 years were her own fantasies. However, just from the fact that Lin Xiao saved her once again, she still felt an inexplicable sense of security towards Lin Xiao. Would you like to see a good show? Lin Xiao suddenly raised his head and a sly smile appeared on his face. What? Qiu Shaoyan didn't have time to look away and lowered her head in embarrassment. Don't you want to take revenge on the person who hurt you? Lin Xiao asked with a smile. Of course. Qiu Shaoyan had already changed into the new clothes that Lin Xiao had bought for her. She turned over and sat up from the bed. What do you need me to do? You don't have to do anything, just wait patiently. Lin Xiao leaned back on the sofa, closing his eyes and resting quietly. Qiu Shaoyan had no idea what Lin Xiao was up to, so she could only sit aside patiently. After a while, she suddenly heard footsteps outside and the sound of the door opening next door. Her expression suddenly changed. If Lin Xiao hadn't brought her out, she would probably be in trouble now. Soon, an unhappy roar came from next door. You can't even watch a person. A bunch of rubbish. Is this voice Lin Yu? Qiu Shaoyan looked at Lin Xiao in surprise. She thought she was being plotted against by some gangsters, but unexpectedly, the person behind it was actually Lin Yu. Lin Yu is still a college student, but he did something so outrageous. Qiu Shaoyan was furious and wanted to go out to argue immediately. Lin Xiao said faintly, "Don't worry, if you go out now, you can't do anything except scold him." After being reminded, Qiu Shaoyan also realized this. He sat back on the sofa dejectedly, his eyes a little red. Can these rich people do whatever they want? There was a hint of trembling in Qiu Shaoyan's tone, and it was unclear whether she was asking Lin Xiao or herself. If Lin Xiao hadn't rescued her today, she didn't know how Lin Yu would have humiliated her. Then her life would be ruined. But now she had no way to deal with this beast. She seemed to have forgotten that Lin Xiao was also a member of the Lin family. He is also what she calls a rich man. Lin Xiao sighed softly. He was not very good at comforting people, so he could only say softly, "Don't worry, bad people will be punished. At least in this case, it won't just go away like this." After that, he typed quickly on the phone screen. About 10 minutes later, footsteps were heard outside again. He also knocked on Lin Yu's door next door. At this time, Lin Yu was still angry. He went to look for his younger brother in the next room, but no one opened the door. No one answered the phone. Originally, he had done a lot of preparation for his romantic night with Qiu Xiaoyan today. He even took some drugs himself to make the night passionate. But now that the person is gone, he feels as if he is on fire, and his whole body is hot. Especially my lower abdomen, it feels like it's about to explode. When he heard the knock on the door, he thought it was his brothers coming back and immediately went to open the door. But what caught my eye was a sexy beauty with a hot body and cool clothes. "You, who are you looking for?" The fire in Lin Yu burned even more fiercely. If he understood the situation, he would have wanted to pounce on this little devil right away. However, the next second, the woman threw herself on him. "Handsome boy, can you take me in for a night? I can do anything for you." The charming voice completely broke the last line of defense in Lin Yu's heart. He simply picked up the woman horizontally, turned around and threw her on the bed. "Hello, police officer, I want to report prostitution activities in Huayao Hotel." Qiu Xiaoyan looked at Lin Xiao, who was talking on the phone, seriously and opened her mouth in surprise. "Is this okay?" She originally thought that Lin Xiao, who was also a young master of the Lin family, would also use some improper means to retaliate like Lin Yu did. But what was unexpected was that he actually called the police directly. The Lin family has a lot of influence in this capital city, and it would be very embarrassing to have a scandal. How come he doesn't seem to care at all? After Lin Xiao finished the call, he stood silently at the window and looked down. Seeing the police car parked, he looked up and asked, "Do you want to go out and see, or just watch here?" "Right here." Qiu Xiaoyan didn't want to see Lin Yu, nor did she want Lin Yu to see her. Lin Xiao didn't say anything and sat back on the sofa. What happened next was just as he had planned. The police checked the rooms one by one. When Lin Yu found his room, he never expected to encounter such a thing. In confusion, the half-naked woman on the bed waved to the police first. "Hi, police officer, we meet again." The police saw the woman's appearance clearly and didn't even bother to conduct routine questioning. This is a famous prostitute here, and she can be seen in almost every crackdown on prostitution. However, this young lady is very determined and seems to love this job very much. No matter how much she was educated with reason and emotion in the detention center, she still continued to do her old business after she was released. However, this also provided some convenience for the police. Every time they saw this woman, they did not need to argue with the other parties involved and could just take her away directly. This is how Lin Yu was taken away in a daze. "Okay, I'll take you back first, and then I have to go to the next show." Lin Xiao said with a smile, "If you want to watch it, I can broadcast it live for you." The psychological trauma that Qiu Xiaoyan suffered from her previous kidnapping was largely dissipated by Lin Xiao's series of little tricks. After returning to school, he couldn't wait to send a message to Lin Xiao to ask about the situation. At this time, Lin Xiao was at the police station. In fact, he didn't have to come, he just wanted to watch the fun. Lin Yu's prostitution made the Lin family very angry. Especially Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei, they were so angry that they refused to go to the police station no matter what, and told the police to handle the matter impartially and let Lin Yu fend for himself. However, someone has to deal with this kind of thing, so Lin Baixian becomes the unlucky one again. Seeing that Lin Yu was still a student and had committed a crime, the police only fined him and did not detain him. Soon, he returned to the Lin family in shame with Lin Baixian and Lin Xiao. "Lin Xiao, you must have harmed me again. I know it was you who plotted against me." When he entered the door, Lin Yu saw that his parents looked unhappy, so he immediately shouted loudly, trying to throw dirty water on Lin Xiao. After being tormented like this, he was a little confused. The only thing in his mind was to drag Lin Xiao into the water no matter what. Chapter 27 Qiu Xiaoyan's Thanks. Seeing Lin Yu say this, Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei's faces became even uglier. Before they could speak, Lin Baixian said coldly, "Lin Xiao had been with me before, and he even had a car accident on the road. How could he plot against you?" Lin Yu was stunned, and suddenly thought of something. He also designed this car accident so that the kidnapping of Qiu Xiaoyan could proceed smoothly. He never expected that this seemingly well-thought-out plan would actually backfire. He was completely speechless. However, Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei quickly grasped the key point in Lin Baixian's words, "car accident. What happened?" Lin Baixian briefly recounted what happened on the road with lingering fear. The police have already gone to find the driver who caused the accident. I believe there will be a result soon. Hey, it's the police's job to find the driver. I'm just asking if you two are okay. Su Xiumei quickly walked up to Lin Baixian and Lin Xiao, looking them up and down. Have you gone to the hospital? This kind of thing can be a big deal. What if they are injured? Mom, it's really okay. Lin Baixian quickly stopped her mother from asking questions. If he continued talking, he and Lin Xiao would probably be sent for a full body examination. Lin Xiao also quickly said that he was fine, his car was just scratched. The Lin couple finally breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Yu was standing by and saw how concerned they were about Lin Xiao, and he felt very angry. He clenched his fists tightly, unable to hold back any longer, and asked, "Don't you care about me at all?" Everyone present was stunned, and then they remembered that Lin Yu was still there. But they felt that Lin Yu was too embarrassed about what happened today to care about anything at all, and for a moment they didn't know what to care about. After a moment of silence, Lin Baixian reminded him in a professional manner, "The police said that woman is a repeat offender. Lin Yu, you'd better go for a physical examination as soon as possible." Lin Yu was stunned for a long time before he reacted, and he became even more annoyed. Lin Baixian looked at his ungrateful look and her tone became a little impatient. "After all, we will still be living under the same roof in the future. If you get infected with some dirty disease, it will affect others. Is this all you care about?" Lin Yu opened his eyes wide, as if trying to see a hint of concern for him from his family members' faces. However, it did not. After seeing this clearly, Lin Yu laughed in anger and said coldly, "Since Lin Xiao came back, you have no longer treated me as a family member. Okay, then I'll leave, okay." After saying that, he turned around, slammed the door and left. In the past, Lin Yu would occasionally lose his temper. Most of the time, it is the family members who take the initiative to give in and resolve the conflict. This is also an important reason why Lin Yu developed such a character. Perhaps it was because the incident this time was too bad. Although Lin Qingshan and Su Xiumei were sad, they did not try to stop it immediately. Isn't it caring about his health? Su Xiumei sighed softly and shook her head silently. Mom, forget it. Xiaoyu's recent behavior is indeed a bit excessive. Let him think about it carefully. Lin Baixian gently put her arm around her mother's shoulders and comforted her in a low voice. For the next 3 days, there was no news from Lin Yu. The atmosphere at home was also somewhat solemn. For the Lin couple, Lin Yu is the child they have raised for 20 years. Even if they are not related by blood, they cannot just leave him alone. Worried that something might have happened to Lin Yu outside, after much hesitation, he decided to send someone to look for him. But at this moment, they heard Lin Xiao's voice. What is there to worry about? Lin Yu is probably having so much fun now that he doesn't want to leave. I play games in the internet cafe with my friends every day. We have food and drinks, and when I get tired, I can go to the hotel next door to sleep comfortably. Hardship. He can't bear even a little bit of hardship. After hearing these words, Mr. and Mrs. Lin were indeed less worried. In order to confirm the authenticity, Lin Qingshan arranged for his assistant to check. Soon, the card swiping information of Lin Yu's recent ID card was found. It was indeed as Lin Xiao said, the registration information of Lin Yu's ID card was in an internet cafe and hotel not far from the school. Oh, he really doesn't treat himself badly at all. Lin Qingshan's original worry turned into anger. This time he simply didn't look for it. He had to teach this spoiled son of his a lesson. No matter how Lin Yu made a fuss, Lin Xiao still maintained a normal university life. On this day, he suddenly received a message from Qiu Shaoyan, asking him to meet. Lin Xiao thought Qiu Shaoyan was bullied again and immediately went to the appointment. Unexpectedly, Qiu Shaoyan brought a gift box and took him to a restaurant near the school with a smile. Lin Xiao, thank you for saving me last time. This is the gift I prepared for you. I hope you like it. Qiu Shaoyan pursed her lips and said with a red face, then pushed the gift box out. Hey, why are you so polite? Lin Xiao opened the gift box, which contained a wooden bracelet. There are some patterns engraved on it, which looks very special. I made this with my own hands. Qiu Shaoyan said in a low voice. She also didn't know what Lin Xiao liked. After all, Lin Xiao was the young master of the Lin family, so he should not be lacking in any luxury items. She took a different approach and made a bracelet like this. Lin Xiao put the bracelet directly on his wrist and rubbed it gently. It's very well made, I like it very much. That's good. Qiu Shaoyan smiled faintly. She has always been introverted and socially anxious, so even if she is very happy in her heart, her expression will not be too exaggerated. At this moment, she suddenly seemed to have thought of something and her expression became serious. By the way, I heard that Lin Yu's classmates are still looking for you everywhere. I'm afraid they will cause you more trouble. It's okay, just let them come. Lin Xiao said lightly while eating. Such a calm attitude fascinated Qiu Shaoyan. She likes this kind of calm person, not someone as noisy as Lin Yu. Do you have a solution? There are ways. Lin Xiao smiled faintly and reminded, just stay away from them. It didn't work last time, and I don't know if there will be a next time. Qiu Shaoyan nodded. I know. I told my dad about what happened last time. He was very angry and has already contacted the counselor. Lin Yu should have been warned as well. Although their family is not as wealthy as the Lin family, they are not ones that can be bullied. Especially since her father has always been on good terms with the police. If Lin Yu dares to attack his daughter again, he will definitely suffer the consequences. After dinner, it happened to be time for the elective course on literature appreciation. Lin Xiao and Qiu Shaoyan came to the library together. Just as he was about to enter the classroom, he saw Lin Yu's followers there, standing in the aisle, looking at him with a smirk on their faces. Obviously he has bad intentions again.